breakfast because she has failed in her duties. Meanwhile, Nahomicha has appealed to the striking doctors to instead join the government in negotiations in order to find a lasting solution to the medical crisis. Speaking in Kajiado County during the commissioning of a mental hospital, she said the government has extended an olive branch to the doctors, urging the medics to reciprocate.
I want to assure you and assure the public in Kenya that as a government, we are working around the clock to ensure an amicable and lasting solution is reached. What we do not want to do as a government is to put a bandage on a wound without treating it.
The government has indefinitely suspended reviewing of salaries of public officials over a cash crisis. Here is the head of public service, Felix Koskei, speaking at the 3rd National Wage Bill Conference.
Any negotiation for improved salaries, as I have said, wages and allowances must be cognizant of economic growth projections and trends. And I repeat, we cannot have systems where employers take action on terms and conditions of employment without having that conversation with those charged with revenue generation and collection. It requires a holistic approach towards public service reforms. Regrettably, this has not been fully achieved, and several institutions continue to issue guidelines and to negotiate CPAs without adequate involvement and consultation.
Kosgei urged all public institutions to join government efforts to attain the required wage bill to revenue ratio.
I believe by now all public institutions, both at national and county governments, have received a recent directive issued by a Secretary of the President requiring you to develop strategies and actions and action plans to achieve a wage bill ratio of 35% by the year 2028 as directed by the summit.
A man in a narrow court has been charged with defiling an 18-month-old baby in the east of the county. Brian Mecha committed the heinous act last week when he was left to take care of the child. He pleaded not guilty. Now, 3 people are in police custody after they were arrested while in possession of 700 bags of government serviced as fertilizer. Ali Fata, Abdi Hussain and Bonfisuma were arrested at a cereal store along Kitale Endebess Road with assorted brands of fertilizer valued at over 1.8 million shillings. This follows a string of theft cases of the fertilizer from the National Cereals and Produce Board depots in Machakos County, and a woman gave birth at the Katimiani Law Courts immediately after she was acquitted of the murder of her 19-month-old baby. Heavily pregnant Virginia Maingi was arrested last month after the suspicious death of her son, but a medical examination later established that the baby had died of starvation. Shortly after the acquittal, she developed labor pains at the court premises, sending court clerks into panic, who looked for lassos to cover her up. Nurses from the nearby dispensary arrived within minutes and safely delivered a baby girl. Both her mother and baby are safe. Now, controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie and 94 others were facing over 200 counts of manslaughter will spend more time behind bars after a Mombasa court denied them bail. Chief Magistrate Alex Ituku said he made the decision because the accused do not have a permanent place of residence. He also cited the seriousness of the charges against them, saying they were a flight risk and could interfere with witnesses. Mackenzie and his associates are facing various charges, including the murder of 49 people whose bodies were exhumed from Shakahola Forest last year. The victims were followers of his Good News International Church and were allegedly forced to starve to death as the world was coming to an end. The pre-trial date for the case has been set for Thursday next week. Meanwhile, 3 families whose kin died at Shakahola Forest have finally given bodies of their loved ones for burial. The families say they can finally bury their loved ones in a decent manner, even as they ask the government for assistance. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord. It shouldn't be like that.
I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge. Muga, not Muga.
He's here and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman. Another man marries troubles. Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It would die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IEBC.
You can't.
I told you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Ednah, it's the, like you said, the bees and the peas. Kila kitu mkapo mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite. Opposite. Ukisikiliza na mnai unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day.
This is one of the hottest show that we can ever miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives a real situation in the Situation Room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again.
Character is like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. You know, people hiding here and there, you know, but after 2, 3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you are showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say. You cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, where we are this Wednesday morning, and traffic in certain parts of the city is making your way into the city will not be too terrible if you're coming off the Thika Superhighway this morning. A free flow of traffic as you get into the CBD, and you're fine also coming off of Langata Road if you're looking at that as a way to start this morning. Let's take a look at what's coming off of the Thika Superhighway, and it's not much. You'll probably get to Survey and there'll just be a little bit of it as you're getting into the city, but really not time to panic just yet, or no time for you to rush at the moment because it doesn't look too bad. There's some movement on Jogo Road. It's heading out towards Landis, and we'll see that stave off towards Haile Selassie. But most of the city seems to be free of traffic, at least for now. Let's see what happens as we get into Wednesday proper. We'll talk through it on SpiceFM KE on X hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair.
It is the 17th of April, is it not?
It is the 17th.
It is the 17th of April, yes it is. And here we are this Wednesday morning, starting off Kenya's biggest conversation for you. How are you doing today? CT, good morning.
Good morning, Do.
How are things in your neck of the woods?
My neck of the woods is cold.
In here it is.
Yes, but even out here,
out there.
It is actually cold.
It's doing the thing. Yeah, I know. The weathers are changing. The First Lady said that the rains are here to stay. And the rain coming through the country is as a sign of, what did she say? Overflow, overflow, something. Like you see, Uganda, they don't use fertilizer. And the same is coming to Kenya. Because of the prayers that have gone up, the rain is coming down. I'm not kidding.
Oh, no, I don't think you're kidding.
Yeah.
Well, with these matters, the truth of the matter is you will have as diverse an opinion or a perspective on the subject as their individuals. Yes, those who pray and believe that there's a God who answers prayers will see God's hand in these matters.
But of course.
All right, and then when it starts flooding and people don't know what to do, are they still going to be seeing God's hand in it?
I don't know if we've thought that far yet, but in the present moment, we are looking at, God's...
This rain already is beginning to bring about a lot of inconveniences. Okay?
This is true.
It is good that it is raining. And every rainy season cycle, we are unprepared. Every rainy season cycle, we are unprepared.
It's a deluge. There is.
Yes.
And it's a regional thing.
Yes, this issue, the story of ensuring that, yes, with these rains, that we harvest the rain, it's a story.
Story.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is this. If we prayed for rain and the rain is here, yes, it is correct to assume
1 + 1 = 2.
That God has answered those prayers. Yes. But then God has also given us a brain, for heaven's sake, okay? And it should be used.
And the hope is that you would actually engage it.
Yes, when there is rain, you know what happens. Yes.
My goodness. Well, that, among other things, we shall be discussing today. Thanks for folks who are already here with us in the room this morning as we get into a number of conversations. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. All right. At 7 o'clock, from drought to toxic waste disposal, the northeastern crisis. Mohammed Ado, who is the Member of Parliament for Wajir South constituency, will be here with us today. And we'll be looking at really what's going on in the northeast part of the country. There's a lot. And let's chambua that a little bit and see. Okay?
We'll look into it.
We'll look into it.
Yes.
Exactly. Janet Okoh, who is an education expert and the executive director of Tunza Mtoto Coalition, will be with us here. There's a lot that's going on. Education, healthcare, we'll be having that conversation. Where did we actually drop the ball? And so she'll be with us here at 8. 9 o'clock, we'll have a conversation and asking, where are we? Where are we? Are we on the right track? And Jeremiah Kioni, who is the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, will be with us at 9 o'clock. Those are conversations that we'll have today. Quite a number of things for us to look into, from flooding on one part to flooding really in another part when we look at the crisis in the education sector as well as, in the health sector, and then looking at the country as a whole. Where are we actually going and what are the situations? What can we do about them? Okay, where are you tuned in around the country? Tell us where you're tuned in from this morning. We'll be saying hello to you in a minute. We're going to take a look at what's happening with the weather and then we'll come back and we'll say hi. Yeah? Yeah.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather with SpiceFM.
17 degrees and cloudy, rainy conditions in parts of Nairobi. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 16. It's partly cloudy at 15 in Nakuru with highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 26 in a mostly cloudy Nyeri at 17. It's cloudy at 13 in Eldoret, highs of 26, and we're looking into a cloudy Mombasa at 25. We're going to highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 30 as well in a mostly cloudy Malindi, currently at 25. It's clear at 19 in Kisumu. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega it's clear at 17, going to highs of 29. Kakamega, I beg your pardon, Kampala is clear this morning at 20, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 27 in a cloudy Dar es Salaam at 24. It is 10 degrees and partly cloudy in Johannesburg with highs of 18, and we're looking into a already sunny Mogadishu at 28 with highs of 34, and at 14 it's partly cloudy in Addis Ababa with highs of 26. Lagos is clear at 28 with highs of 34, and we're looking into a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 24, going to highs of 33. In Beijing, Wednesday afternoon is sunny at 22, and we'll see highs of 27 getting into the summer. It's 5 degrees and mostly cloudy in Paris this morning, going to highs of 11, and London is 6 degrees and cloudy with highs of 11 as well. We'll round things out in New York, where Tuesday night is clear at 13, coming into Wednesday we'll see highs of 23 and lows of 9.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Chris Adede, good morning. Spice FM team, greetings from Utawala. Good morning to you. Sir George Gashoiri has remembered Queen Charlotte this morning and has said, good morning, Ndu, Ednah, Charlotte, Eric. Oh, we remember, Eric was not here today, hence me, yeah. For a couple of days, but he'll be back, not to worry. Happy Wednesday and looking forward to a great show. Asante Sana. Evans Ntabo is also tuned in this morning and says, good morning, everybody. Okay, it's not Sharon, it's Charlotte. You can be Charlotte, you can be Sharon for the day. It's Charlotte. But good morning to you as well, Evans. Jeremiah Wanjala says, good morning, guys. Eric Leo Ikokwa. Maombi Sabu ya Arsenal. Okay. Princess Ndu, yes. CT Latiff, Ednah, Oyaore Uduto.
Good morning to all of you.
Okay. It's only me in the whole Nyanza who supports Zakayo 101%. Do have a fantastic day. He's decided that he is the sole Nyanza supporter of President William Ruto. I don't know that would be true, but okay.
Good for him.
You can, enjoy that for this morning.
Good for him.
Robin Swogo says, good morning from Mombasa. Dr. Venvik is tuned in this morning from Tudor. And Samuel Mumbi says, Samuel Murathi says, good morning, trio. You are the best. Ola Asante Sana. Thank you for being here. Hello, Princess. Yes. Good morning, Leo. Ndu CT Ednah. The prayers that Kenyans want is not answered or maybe not being prayed for. We're praying for a government working for its people and listening to its people. Those are the prayers that we actually want answered. Cindio, good morning, Situation Room from Baltimore in Maryland. So prayer brought down Kenya's shilling but cannot create jobs. As you were. Okay, I guess that's a good question. Isaiah is clapping for us. We're clapping as well. Good morning to you too. Charotich says, this is Isaac Church. He says, good morning. It's a chilly Wednesday morning here at Nyeri. Looking forward to today's Situation Room. Thank you for being here this morning. Oganya Malala says, good morning. We can see you, Team Spice. It's midweek. Yes, it is. Right in the middle of it. And Real Karaoke says, good morning. Washington Okechi is here as well. Wilfred Odhiambo has tuned in. John K. He says, Ndu, Jambo, you look cute. Thank you very much. CT, salams. Tuned in from SF, being San Francisco. Okay. We see you guys online this morning. Karibu Sana, wherever you're tuned in, YouTube, Facebook, our live streams are up as we get into Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. We're going to kick it off with today's proverb, CT. We're in the, I was going to say we're in the kingdom of Cape Verde, but you know.
No.
It's not a kingdom. Okay.
Republic of Cabo Verde.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rats don't dance in the cat's doorway.
I'm so tempted to say lest they be eaten.
There's that possibility, yes.
Rats don't dance in the cat's doorway.
No, they don't.
Pretty straightforward, this one, isn't it?
Mm.
I'll be interesting to see how people
You
would
don't take
interpret
yourself
that.
to a place where there's imminent danger.
Yeah, you don't just walk into it.
Mm.
Yeah, you don't just walk into it. It's a good one. Okay, the headlines this morning on the front page of the Standard today. School fees. Why MPs oppose e-citizen way. President William Ruto's plan to have school fees channeled through a single e-citizen pay bill number, a move already suspended by court, suffered a second blow after members of parliament appeared to reject it, saying it would disrupt school finances. Oh, okay. Kibunjia, others charged in ghost workers scandal. That would be an interesting one to look into. Members of parliament reject Ruto's envoy pick for DRC. Are you surprised? CC, your guy.
You know, that committee has a duty. And if that is their decision, that is their decision.
Yeah, they said that one is not possible. But let's just see. Why the wage bill keeps going up. Apparently there's a business analysis of that. We're looking in the paper that we have today. The school music festivals, or rather music drama fests are going on. And it seems that there's some schools who are making their mark in terms of what's going on. Blow as court halts Mau Mau roadworks. They were working on the road. Why did they halt the roadworks? Well, of course, we're going to look into that as well. No end in sight. Doctors' protests are still going on. Where was I yesterday? Yeah, outside Parliament, and quite a number of them still. And yesterday was protest day. There will be another one on Friday. They're saying there are 2 protests weekly, Tuesday and Friday, until this thing is sorted out. So that was one yesterday. And it's interesting, the poster here, that the placard that this lady is carrying, it is the poor patients suffering and dying. The rich have got medical covers. Hashtag pay doctors, post interns. And that is the call that goes round and round. This is the paper that we have today. We'll be looking into some of those stories and looking at some of those other tickets as we go through. So, CT, you have the Standard just like me?
I have the Standard just like you, but I also have the East African.
How about that?
Yes. You know, something is happening in one of the neighboring countries that we have, some of our neighbors. That's the country of Rwanda. They are commemorating 30 years.
Of what?
Since the genocide.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Okay. The title on page 4 of the East African is Rwandan Battle with Genocide Narratives, 30 Years on Closure, Reimagining Society. This is a subject that cannot be wished away.
No.
People were massacred. It's something that will always be there as a reminder, but even more importantly, it will be remembered that the UN delayed,
did nothing,
prevaricated, and by the time they were making a decision, close to 1 million people had been killed.
Died, absolutely.
Yes.
They had been murdered.
The country of France had forces within the country. They didn't intervene.
No, they didn't. They essentially sat back and watched 1 million people butcher.
Yes.
Or rather be butchered by others.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was from 1994, it was in 2003 that the UN General Assembly passed a resolution to commemorate Rwandan genocide as a United Nations Day. So, if matters of this nature are not given the prominence that they deserve, then the likelihood of it recurring elsewhere is very high.
That's true.
And when you look at a continent that is rife with all manner of atrocities, civil strife, civil war, and the people who bear the brunt of it are the citizens. Yes. Rwanda then is a case study, and the manner in which these matters have been handled is something that one must take as a lesson, that if ignored, then it simply implies that we are inviting similar atrocities.
Indeed.
And we're allowing them to take place. Yes.
It'll be interesting to see what memories or what folks are being asked to remember as they commemorate these 30 years.
Yes.
I remember that soon after that time, there were many words that were banned. You could not use certain words in Rwanda.
And with good reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were certain things you could not do because then it would invite a situation akin to what you're talking about. That was very easy to plunge back into that heightened sense of conflict over a very small thing. You can't use the word tribe anymore. You can't talk about that because it polarizes people to such an extent that would bring about a situation of war. And they don't want to go back there. Never again.
No, they don't. In
Never
fact,
again.
there's a quote. There's from Martin Ngoga, the Rwandan High Commission to Kenya. It says, genocide is not an isolated event, but a consequence of a society that has allowed prejudice and intolerance to take root. And how right they are.
Very right.
Yes.
Well, the doctor strike continues. High doctors' pay will hurt civil servants according to the Council of Governors. The health crisis in Kenya continues to escalate as the nationwide strike by doctors, clinical officers and laboratory officers enters its 5th week. The conflict pitting the healthcare workers and the government looks far from over as both sides hold on their extreme positions. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakhumicha is, however, appealing to the striking medics in return to the negotiating table and assuring the public that the government is working to find an amicable and long-lasting solution. She was speaking in Ngong, Kajiado County. That was the place to go and discuss this. While commissioning a mental hospital managed by the Catholic Church, she said the ongoing strike would end this week.
Well, she said certain things that are similar to that one before.
Yeah.
There was one about the documentation being ready to be signed immediately, all manner of things. Everything that we've seen so far, the union has not been unwilling to talk. They've been very willing to talk. And any meeting that has been called, they have attended. Yes. I don't, unless there's a boycott. They boycotted a meeting that I am unaware of.
No.
So their willingness to talk has always been there. So when the CS says that they should accept and she should come to the table to talk, what on earth is she talking about?
If anything, when they were ready to talk, there was nobody on the other side of the table.
Yes.
And that's true. But she seems convinced, however, that this week, today, Thursday, Friday, this thing will be over.
But
my assurance, she's even given her assurance.
That means very little.
My assurance to the public is that the government, as government, we are working round the clock to ensure an amicable and long-lasting solution is reached, if not today, by the end of this week. Well, I guess so today, which was yesterday, was kind of out of it. She said the government will make sure that the doctors resume duty.
Look, the government is in a position to resolve this matter, okay, if they want to. And this matter isn't going to be resolved by statements that are made, broad sweeping statements or promises of a better and a brighter future. That's not how this thing is going to be resolved. And it isn't as though one doesn't know what needs to be done. It is known. Yes.
It's interesting because women MPs have come out to say, sack Nakhumicha. Women members of parliament tell Ruto that they should sack her over the Linda Mama mess. There's a picture here of MPs Millie Odhiambo, Gathoni Wamushomba, and quite a number of others addressing the media at Parliament yesterday. And they basically said, look, they're calling the president to sack the health cabinet secretary over the issues plaguing the health sector. Tuesday, more than 10 women leaders expressed concern over the halt of the Linda Mama program by the Ministry of Health for the past month. They accused the CS of neglecting pregnant mothers who are suffering due to the doctor's strike. Led by Githunguri MP Gathoni Wamushomba, Suba North MP Millie Odhiambo, Kilifi Women Representative Executive Gertrude Mbeyu, they demanded the immediate removal of Nakhumicha, stating that she has failed to provide solutions to the problems within her department. But Mbeyu said that if President William Ruto cares about this country, that he must dismiss CS Nakhumicha and appoint someone who can ensure the provision of medical services to Kenyans in need of health care. Nakhumicha must what? She must go.
I don't know. She's a CS, so anything that seems to go wrong with the ministry will land at her doorstep. That one we get. But what really is the problem, really? Because if you're talking about a service that we were told was supposed to be free for women, and now we're now being told that there's a problem with it, is it really her who is the problem?
It was under her administration that Linda Mama, as a health option for pregnant women, came to an end. That they decided to scrap it.
All right. So they scrapped something that had been agreed upon by the previous administration that this should be so. And they gave reasons for scrapping it.
They don't have money.
You know, this thing of not having money, the doctors strike. Then we have NHIF and the issues around it. People are dying.
They are.
I was talking to somebody who goes for dialysis regularly. And until they gave me the figures, I didn't know. Ordinarily, every session, 15,000 shillings. Now, with NHIF, it then became possible for that amount to be afforded because NHIF would pay a good portion of it and you pay a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, people who go for dialysis, I'm giving this as an example of what a healthcare situation like the one we have, what it does to people. It isn't an option where you say, well, let me go for 2 days and then next year I'll go for another 3. No. It has to be regular for it to work.
Yeah.
Now, if that provision is not there and the NHIF card is not being accepted by hospitals, you know, you've actually pronounced, it's a death sentence that you pronounce on the people who actually have to have dialysis, because they have to. Dialysis it's not a suggestion, it's not something that, a pastime that you indulge yourself in every once in a while when you have nothing better to do. No.
In order for you to live, you need to go on.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Now you tell me, what about other services that where people relied on NHIF? The Ministry of Health has its work cut out for them.
Big time. And it actually needs to be looked into now. Why? This one is not pretty at all, and how it's handled at this stage is critical to see whether a thing is going to collapse like a house of cards or it's actually going to succeed and we'll see a ladder to heaven somewhere. It just doesn't look pretty right now at all.
So that's the question I'm asking. Okay, yes, it is easy. The easy thing is to blame the CS. That's the easy thing.
Yeah.
Okay, CS. But what really is the problem? What really are we dealing with here? This story of there not being money.
Tell me something else.
Let's look for something else. But this thing of there not being money.
No. I mean, that's what I'm saying about that money issue. No, give us another reason why this thing can't, but not the money.
No.
Let's take a break and look at traffic and see what's happening as we're getting into the morning today. I'll take a look at the roads and then come back and continue looking at stories making the headlines this morning. Ghost workers, people are going to be charged, or rather have been charged because of that. Be back in a short bit.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start.
A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Hassan.
Below, yenin there ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. And he must blame it on Adam, not because Adam messed up and he was told, "No, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat."
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, let's take a look at where it's building up this morning. As you're coming off the Thika Superhighway, you'll see some coming in from Survey. That's traffic as you get towards that Pangani underpass. But really, that's about the size of it for now. Looking at coming in from the eastern side of things, coming off of the eastern bypass and then touching on Outer Ring a little bit. Not much happening there either. As you're coming out of Westlands, you're doing fine. Traffic on Waiyaki Way is flowing free all the way towards Westlands and then out towards Chiromo and then into the city. So there, no problems. Southern bypass looking good. Touching on Langata Road, and we don't see any traffic here either. Ngong Road looks good. As you get towards the city mortuary roundabout, it might slow down just a tad, but nothing again to worry about because you'll pick up and then you'll be on your way after that. Okay, so we're looking at traffic hour in about 30 minutes or so. All right, let's look at that and then we'll come back and talk just in case anything does pop out at you. Let's talk on SpiceFM. KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room. Yeah, CT has stories from you.
Well. Stories galore.
Right.
There's something that I found a bit interesting here. This is with regards to a comment that has been attributed to the Council of Governors Chair, Ann Waiguru. And there's a quotation here. If the national government agrees to implementation of Dr. CBA, it would have a ripple effect on civil servants' basic salary and will require additional allocation of resources to be able to carry out this task.
What?
Well, what I find interesting is this. The CBA that we are referring to was signed between the union, the doctors' union, and the government.
Yes.
Now, surely, are we saying that when this was being signed, all these things had not been considered?
Oh, come on. Look, I think that one of the issues here is just that previously when CBAs were signed or when there was a strike for a very long time, the thing was come back into the room, let's have a discussion and sign it. Whether we have an intent to actually abide by what the CBA says, that's a totally different kettle of fish. And I think that is one of the things that the medical workers are talking about now. That even if you call us back to work and tell us that everything is okay, we're not going to eat your words. We want to actually see action about it. So if we're complaining now that if you increase doctors' salaries, that what it's going to do is going to have a negative effect on other civil servants' pay, then, this is an issue that needs to be looked at from the top. From the top. Not trying to guess what might happen in case. I think it needs to be looked at properly. For sure. Yep.
Why is it that something that appears to be not simple but straightforward as this, why are there so many twists and turns? And the twists and turns would simply be an academic discussion if at the end of that discussion people's lives were not at stake. Because we've seen these strikes before. It's not the first time.
No.
But this one has taken on a new twist. Because it's not just a doctor's strike. Healthcare workers are joining in. Healthcare workers in the private sector are joining in. Now, this thing is, should we say it's escalating as we watch? Now, if it's escalating as we watch, what will be the consequences on the lives of the individuals who actually need healthcare? And the majority of whom have to go to public facilities. Which right now are not functional. What then do you do? A basic right is being violated here.
Right to medical.
Yes. You see, the burden of ensuring that the citizenry are healthy lies with the government. It's their duty.
Absolutely.
It's theirs. Nobody else's. You can't shift it. You can't take it anywhere else.
It's a difficult thing to think about. It's a difficult thing because here you are saying that, people have a right to health and a right to life, right? On the other hand, you have a government it is a government directive that in order for you to practice, you need a license. And in order for you to get that license, you need to have done an internship for a year. That's what usually happens, because you'll be hands-on and then you can go on after that. The same government seems to then not be on the same table. I mean, people talk about coming to the table. My God, these folks are not even in the same room. Come to the table when we're talking about issues. What exactly should we discuss at the table? Look at the myriad of issues that needs to be handled. And why is it so difficult to get it done? I think this is the question. Get it done once and for all. At least those are people you can see. Because some other people have been charged in court over people that you cannot see. What am I talking about? Former National Museums of Kenya Director General Mzalendo Kibunjia was yesterday charged over an alleged 441 million shillings fictitious ghost workers pay. They paid Casper and his friends. Kibunjia found himself in the murky waters of graft after he was accused of being part of a syndicate that allegedly embezzled public resources. The former public servant was charged alongside four other people who were yesterday, charged with the offence of alleged involvement in corruption. He was charged alongside Stanvas Ogalo, the Director of Human Resources, Oliver Rabur, who is the ICT office payroll person, Wycliffe Ongata, he's the accountant, and Osman Mwaura. They were the three main charges. They were presented before Milimani Magistrate Victor Wahumile and denied the charges. The prosecution painted a picture of the National Museum of Kenya having 441 million between 26 and 2023. It is alleged that there was at least 1,282 employees on the payroll, but some 105 were allegedly ghost workers. So a tenth of that number is people who are kind of here but not there. The charges were split into 10 counts. They ranged from abuse of office, money laundering, financial misconduct, and acquisition of proceeds of crime. In the first count, Kibunjia, Ogalo, Rabur, Oguya, and Mwara were accused of conspiring to engage in graft. Where? Do you understand?
You know, what I understand is this. There's a graft case.
Yes.
And individuals' names have been mentioned.
Yes.
Okay? Well, let them join the queue. Let them join the queue. But of interest, there is, this one is an interesting discussion. There is always a story that we've heard with reference to our forest and tree cover, something called a water tower.
Yes.
Okay? Now, we have several water towers in this country. One of them is the Aberdares. Okay? The Aberdare Mountain, that range, also has a forest. Serious ecosystem. It also has serious wildlife. Now, the government had proposed to have a road, 54 kilometers of that road pass through the Aberdares. It's called an upgrade of the Ihite Aberdares Forest, Kahuruko Ndunyu Njeru Road.
Oh, that all is one road?
Yes. It's one place to the other. All these are places it passes through.
Okay.
And it's known as the Mau Mau Road. Now, those who took this matter to court, I talk about East African Wildlife Society, Kenya Forest Working Group, Africa Center for Peace and Human Rights Against the Kenya National Highway Authority, Water Tower Agency, NOC International, National Environmental and Management Authority, NEMA. Now, NEMA had previously said, guys, Serikali, please look for another route, okay?
Yeah, don't pass.
Yeah, this one is going to cause a problem because you are actually going to disrupt. There's 75 hectares of land and you're going to disrupt an ecosystem there. And unfortunately, it'll have far-reaching consequences, even for people who live in Nairobi, okay?
Yep.
However, this year, NEMA, who had previously said, and Kenya Wildlife Services, Kenya Forest Services, who had previously said, no, guys, we can't have this, did a complete about turn and said, it is okay, we're giving you the authority to go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes. Now, the matter was taken to court. It has been halted. Now, it reminds me of a similar plan that the Tanzanian government had with the road that they wanted to pass through the Serengeti. Okay? Now, any time you have a discussion of this nature, well, it's educative because environmentalists come up with their argument. The government comes up with its argument. But the question I want to ask is, are there alternatives? And what is it that is so crucial that this road had to pass through here? What is it that makes it that absolutely necessary? And what is it that makes it necessary so that other routes that could either have been formatted now become obsolete and they're not considered?
Yeah. Look, I must be taken into consideration that is there an alternative? Always have what would be a plan B, because what happens in this case now when people are not able to ply this route, that it takes them longer to get where they are going, they have to leave a day before, or they don't go at all.
Precisely, but the road hasn't existed, and how have people been traveling?
Exactly.
Okay. Now remember, when you talk about an ecosystem is not just the flora and fauna. No. You're talking about the animals as well that live here. Now, the moment you disrupt it, you can't really engage reverse gear after you've disrupted it.
No.
Okay. So, what do we stand to lose if this actually takes place?
Huh.
Because it's something that we will not be able to recoup or regain.
Right.
If it's gone,
it's gone.
It's gone.
Like the morning mist at noon. It's gone
completely. Yes.
And you can't do it. It's true, CT, because you can't do anything about it. After the fact.
These matters require honest conversations.
They do.
No finger pointing, no blaming, just saying, folks, if we balance everything that we're talking about on a scale and determine the best way forward, what really is in our best interest, everything considered.
Let me tell you, folks who are thinking about the best interest of Kenya right now, it might be surprising to you, and it's a group of your favorite people, it's members of parliament. They, in this committee, has rejected Ruto's nominee and cleared 26 for diplomatic posts. I'll give you 3 guesses as to who they rejected. A National Assembly committee has rejected the nomination of Charles Githinji Kiru as an envoy to the DRC. The development came just days after the House team expressed concerns over his suitability before vetting. The Defense and Foreign Affairs Relations Chairman Nelson Koech yesterday told the House that the team had approved all the other 26 nominees except this one. The nominee presented a Form 4 certificate and a driving license as his credentials. So, I mean, during the vetting last week, members of the committee felt that Kiru lacked the qualifications to represent the country as Consul General for Goma. Despite the fact that a degree or diploma is not mandatory for any ambassadorial role, the committee was concerned over his suitability and throughout the session questioned him on what they termed as lack of ambition. So he's kind of said like, well, I can get it. It's under the bed. I'll get it for you tomorrow, this ambition. Kiru could not tell the meaning of gross domestic product and claimed that Malawi bordered the DRC. I know you're about to say, does it not? He said that Malawi bordered the DRC. He also failed to explain the role of a consular general. So, at the very barest minimum, CT, this job that you're going to do, so at least you know what it is.
No, but why don't they just let him start the job so that he can understand it better?
Direct learning on the job.
Yes.
The team was also taken aback on learning that despite having enrolled for college in Kasarani, Kiru did not complete studies, and after it emerged that the institution had not been certified by the government. Can you imagine? After doing all that work, then they say no certification from the government, you can't sit your exam. Anywho, it is very important that given an opportunity to come before this committee, you did absolutely nothing from filling out the questions from honorable members and to becoming extremely difficult to interview. Committee Vice Chairman Elijah Memusi said the position has a lot of competencies required, which you are not demonstrating. If approved, you will be dealing with PhD holders, and I feel academically you would be a dwarf. Yeah, so others went and they did very well in their exams, and they're off to some of the they did those exams, and now they're off to the place whereby they're saying, where are we going with this? And they've rejected that name. Rejected, it's not happening. The rest of the 26 will be going through for assent by the president. I think that they may have actually done something with that.
Well, life, my friend, has to continue, mustn't it?
Yes, it must. Yes, it must. That's interesting to see that they actually did that. Okay. Looking at other stories in the paper today. See, what else do you have? There was a story.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was
calm returns after ethnic skirmishes at border. Okay? Now this is an area that is rife with this sort of stories. That is the Kituro area in the Transmara. That's Narok. Okay? This is an area that every once in a while you will hear of skirmishes taking place.
Yeah.
Now, when one hears of skirmishes and one says one usually hears of skirmishes, it's as though we've accepted that there will be skirmishes in this area.
Yes.
But must that be the case really? Because I am borrowing, this particular leaf that I'm borrowing is when we look at some of the strife-ridden areas in the Rift Valley, northern Kenya. Situation that we keep talking about as though it has been accepted that this is what is going to continuously happen in these particular places. Now, surely, isn't something fundamentally wrong with us if we accept that strife must exist, that problems of this nature must be there in these areas?
But the place is synonymous with these kind of conflicts. Yeah.
And are we also saying that it is not possible to find a lasting solution to the problems that exist in these places?
And is this calm? How long is this calm going to be? And this is the question: that is there calm, and is it temporary? Is it artificial because there's a lot of buzz about it at the moment, or are we actually seeing a situation whereby folks have said, okay, let's put this thing down and let's have a conversation about what may be happening? Is enough being done to say let's then also peel back and remove this image where it seems as in parts of this country just have to be in that place where it's constant conflict? Is there real calm, and can it be prolonged? I think that's where we are now.
Indeed.
It's tough, man. It's a tough one. But I really do look forward to the time where we'll be able to see the situation whereby we're not dealing with these conflicts in this area, and then not doing enough when it comes to bringing about peace in these conflict areas. I mean, something definitely needs to be done. There was a business story that I wanted to tell you about. Right, there we go. This ghost workers thing is a thing. Ghost workers, unauthorized perks drive up the public wage bill. We know that folks are at that conference this week where they're saying, look, how can we get this 47% down to the not more than 35% that the wage bill ought to have in the country? Ghost workers, government employees being paid higher than reported, irregularly paid allowances, and payments to casual staff without authorization are some of the actors, or rather factors, pushing up Kenya's public wage bill. This is according to Auditor General Nancy Gathungu, who has said that there is rampant fraud involved in payroll costs. It is also partly the reason that a majority of government entities audited by the Auditor General had modified audit options. In a presentation of the Wage Bill Conference yesterday, the Auditor General revealed some of the issues that point to the fraud in the management of public funds, including differences between payroll data and what the government agencies report as their employee costs in financial statements. There are, however, numerous instances of non-existent workers continuing to draw full salaries. Don't you like that? According to Ms. Gathungu, there are variances between the integrated personnel payroll database and the reported employee costs in financial statements, reported cases of fictitious employees on the payrolls, leading to salaries being siphoned off, payment of salaries to staff without employment numbers, unauthorized and casual staff payments, and unauthorized allowances. She said there were also instances of unjustified or inflated allowances paid to employees contrary to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission circulars. Payroll fraud is among the reasons why the majority of government entities received a modified audit opinion, which could be an indicator that an agency is misusing public funds. I mean, I don't get it. This ghost workers thing has been here for yonks. It seems that, you know how you say, remember how we're having a conversation with the folks, with Joe Sang from KPC?
Yes.
And what did he tell us? That they allowed an element of loss to 0.25, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now they're between 0.03 to 0.06.
Yes.
So it is to be understood that as you go down this pipe, that because of certain things, vandalism, cost of whatever, evaporation, you will lose some money. Or rather, you will lose some of the product, which now equates to losing some money, right?
Yep.
Now, it's almost as if we're saying, in the wage bill, some percentage is going to be lost to ghost workers. How is it possible that you are paying a significant enough amount of money to be noticed to people who don't work there, who may have worked there in the past, but are not there today, and it's okay? That it is not the first time that it has been on the Auditor General's report that there are ghost workers. Then we say, okay, the percentage of a high wage bill can be attributed to ghost workers and to those who are fictitious and to allowances that are unallowed, essentially, or to funds that have been misappropriated, and that money is going out the window. And it is just jotted down as a loss, and it's okay.
Yes.
It baffles me completely. I don't get it.
Anything of that nature, if anything that is considered to be unlawful exists, and all that happens by way of extinguishing it is by talking about it, and nothing beyond talking happens, it means that people within the system are benefiting from it. So they'll pay lip service to trying to find a solution, and that will be just it. Because, look, the ghost workers don't exist in a vacuum. No. They are beneficiaries. There are people who benefit from this. So long as there are people who benefit from it and they are willing to continue benefiting from it, the truth of the matter is this will be a discussion that we have every once in a while when the Auditor General flags it, and that will be just the beginning and the end of it.
My goodness.
Yes.
But this is the thing for me, that I don't think that the flagging should be the end of it. That this thing has been flagged until it cannot be flagged anymore. That the ghost workers is a thing that we just know that it's going to be there at some point.
It's always there.
The amount of money that has been paid and it has gone to ghost workers, but it's just like it's accepted that we know we're going to lose some fuel. We're going to lose some because they're ghost workers. We don't know, or rather we may know, but we don't want to start to uncover who they are, where they came from, who's authorizing these payments of these individuals that you know very well are not on the thing. How? Why? I mean, I'm going to say again, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well,
why and how is it acceptable?
Whenever anything persists that long, take the view that there are people who are making sure it persists, isn't it? And there are those who are also ensuring that we can talk about it and talk about it some more and continue talking about it, but also ensure that nothing actually happens, nothing actually takes place to ensure that it does not occur again. That's a simple reality. It's our lived reality. Yes. Ask yourself a very simple question. In a country where seeking employment seems to be the goal of very many people, okay? And our education system also encourages people to work, sit for exams, pass, and then thereafter hope to get employed. So long as there are people seeking employment in the manner that we seek employment, this particular matter of ghost workers will never come to an end. Because there is really no real effort that you can see that is placed in the direction of actually making sure that this matter is resolved conclusively. That the matter is discussed continuously, that we understand. It will continuously be discussed, but resolved.
This information is being given at a conference where the public wage bill that stands at 47% is being looked at critically to then be able to bring it down to the less than 35% that is recommended or required by law, by an act. This information is coming out at that event.
Yes.
Whereby it is clear that this has happened over and over again, and it's just reported like, we're losing money to this, and this, and it looks like it's just going to continue. And everybody, see it. Okay. So.
Don't rupture blood vessel.
I just don't get it. Yeah, some of the solutions are going to slap you in the face and we're not quite sure what to do with it. All right, more conversations happening as we come to the top of the hour, folks. Mohammed Ado will be in the hot seat at 7, and we'll be looking at the Northeast and some of those issues happening there and what needs to be done to get round them. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Asserto. President William Ruto is today expected to officially close the 3-day National Wage Bill Conference. The conference, which started earlier this week, focuses on the wage bill in the public sector as well as methods to control the burden and avoid misuse of public funds. In the conference, the offices of the Controller of Budget and the Auditor General criticized the county governments for making payments without following the proper procedure, employing excess staff as well as making payments without having the documents required by law, thus contributing to the misuse of public resources. Kitui County is leading 10 counties with a heavy wage bill burden of up to 75%, funds that should have been used in various development projects.
75% of all your money going to personnel emoluments leaves you with only 25% for the rest of the recurrent and the development.
Issues of fictitious employees on payroll leading to salaries being siphoned off. You pay, but if we trace that money, it goes to pay other people's.
Mineral Council of Governors has asked SRC to design a new system that will be used to reward them, either by promoting them or increasing the salaries of employees instead of the county do so without any criteria. Governors Muthomi Njuki of Tharaka Nithi and his counterpart of Hombe Gladys Wanga both used the opportunity to press the Ministry of Finance to disburse funds to the counties on time to increase production efforts.
As a country, we need to have a policy that will ensure that we remunerate the one resource that controls the other resource before we remunerate the others. First partnership really is with the National Treasury to see that we can actually have, as per the law, on 15th of every month, have the disbursement of the funds.
Various Kisii MCAs want the government to heighten Kisii Governor Simbarati's security after the county boss raised concerns that his life is in danger. While addressing the county assembly, Majority Leader Henry Moracha accused the officers from the region of planning to arrest Arati and his supporters.
Akiongea jinsi wataenda kuweka bunduki, silaha kwa gavana ili gavana aonekane muharifu. Kwa hivyo sisi kama bunge tumejadili hili jambo na tumeamua kuwa tunangoja huyu mama atueleze au serikali kuu itueleze ni njia gani itachukua ili tupate hii ni nini ilikuwa inapangwa. Na sisi kama bunge tumeamua kama serikali kuu haitatuambia hatua ambazo inachukua, basi hatuna budi ili kuenda tufanye maandamano hadi serikali kuu ituambie ni nini inapanga.
This is Bogeka MCA Richmond Manani has asked the officer who was recorded stating our plans to frustrate Governor Arati be arrested in accordance with the law.
Lakini shida ni ile gavana ambaye tunategemea kwa minajili ya maendeleo ya wananchi. Sasa unaona wanatupiga tu vita, hakuna maendeleo Kisii. Absorption rate iko chini. Absorption rate haiko chini. Kazi imetendeka. Tulichofanya ni malipo, kwa sababu lazima tufuate sheria kwa kulipa hata wanakandarasi wote.
Controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie and 94 others who are facing over 200 counts of manslaughter will spend more time behind bars after a Mombasa court denied them bail. Chief Magistrate Alex Ituku said he made the decision because the accused do not have a permanent place of residence. He also cited the seriousness of the charges against them, saying they were a flight risk and could interfere with witnesses. Mackenzie and his associates are facing various charges, including the murder of 49 people whose bodies were exhumed from Shakahola. Meanwhile, 3 families whose kin died at the Shakahola forest have finally given bodies of their loved ones for burial. The families say they can finally bury their loved ones in a decent manner, even as they ask the government for assistance.
Na wakati tulikuja hapa jana tukaona hizo mifupa, hakika tulisikia uchungu sana, lakini tuliridhika ya kwamba tumewapata watu wetu. Ingawa wamebaki watatu, lakini watatu tumewapata. Hasa tukiwapeleka nyumbani tutakuwa tumeridhika, maana tumeshawazika.
Nimesikia angalau vizuri kwa sababu wanaenda kuzikwa wapumzike. Mimi nilikuja na baba na mama na babangu mdogo na ndugu zangu 7 kutoka Nairobi, tukaletwa Malindi pale kanisani. Tukakaa siku 3 ndo tukaenda Shakahola.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, so where are we this morning? Looking at traffic in different parts. As you're coming into the city, and this is coming in from the Thika Superhighway, as is the case as you get towards the Pangani underpass, traffic is then heavy. Coming in all the way from that outer ring junction, past through towards the fork in the road, then that goes towards Wangari Maathai or Muranga Road. There's traffic there. It's not too bad as you're coming in on Uhuru Highway, and that's coming in from Chiromo, getting out into the city. It's moving for now. We don't see any holdups on Jogo Road. Busy getting out towards Landis. Also on Kangunda Road, we're seeing some traffic as you approach Mama Lucy, and then out towards the outer ring junction, some traffic there. On North Airport Road, coming in from Cabanas, going in the direction of the Eastern Bypass, we're seeing some traffic build up. On Ngong Road, as you're coming in from Naivasha Road, and then you touch a little bit on that junction area going towards Riara, and then you're going to go out towards James Gishuru. That's also starting to build up. We're not quite yet in traffic hour yet, but we will be soon. And we'll let you know what happens, where we are, what you're doing, how that's going. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Indeed,
the only way to start your day.
After 7 o'clock, Kenya's biggest conversation gets into its second hour this morning, and looking at various things that are happening around the country and indeed around the world. Where are you tuned in from today? Whether you're on our live streams or any of our radio apps this morning, Karibu Sana, and also welcome to our audience on KTN Home as we get into it today. What's your plan for the day? What's your plan for the week? What's your plan for the month? What's your plan for the year? Well, the folks at ICA Lion are saying it doesn't matter what your plan is. Come and have a conversation with us, and then we can talk about the different things that you can do depending on what it is that you want to do. Where are you in that point where you're thinking, well, you know, there's certain things that I had thought that I would be doing by this time, or there's certain things that I want to do as I go forward in life? How about you write an email, plan@icealion.co.ke, or you can get onto the website, plan.icealion.co.ke, see what different ideas are available, but then you can also go on down and have a conversation with somebody who will say, okay, let's share. Tell us what you want to do, and let's let you know how we can help you do it to come up with that. That's Plan by ICA Lion, you know, solidifying a future for you, helping you to get into what your plan is. All right, this hour, we're having a conversation with I don't know if a journalist is never former. They're always.
Say that.
Isn't it? Yes. You've been here before, and it's always good to have you here. The Member of Parliament for Wajir South constituency, Mohammed Addo, is here with us this morning. Mohammed, good morning.
Good morning, Doko.
How are you doing?
Very well.
Yeah?
Very well.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Should I say welcome to Nairobi? Because you've not...
No.
Okay.
Nairobi's home.
Good. Welcome home. Okay, so we're going to start it off. CT has been giving us proverbs this week from Cape Verde. Cape Verde.
I refuse to call it Cape Verde.
Okay, fine. Pronounce all the E's and everything else.
Well, actually, because in Portuguese it's Cabo Verde.
Yes, it is.
I've always pronounced it as Cape Verde.
It is actually Cape Verde. It is. But I am the one who has declined. I've said no.
Okay.
Yes.
If there's a letter that is seen, it must be pronounced.
Yes, let's just pronounce it.
Okay.
Yes. The proverb of the day: rats don't dance in the cat's doorway.
Rats don't dance in the cat's doorway.
Yes.
It's a good one.
What do you think it means?
It means don't subject yourself to danger, basically. Simply. I mean,
yes. Don't put yourself in the path of danger.
Exactly.
Yes.
Don't laugh in the face of danger. Indeed. It's pretty straightforward, but some heavy lessons there, isn't it? Okay. So, as we're getting into the conversation this morning, I mean, just hearing about where things are and just looking in depth, and I think it's always extremely important for us to have a 360 view of what's happening around the country, but then also then being able to go in depth and say, okay, so here we are in terms of the development agenda, in terms of getting some things moved off this perennial axis. This is what is happening. So we're going to be looking today at the northeast generally, but then also specifically. And we were in a place where there was drought, and then now where there's a lot of rain and there's flooding, and we're asking ourselves, okay, so first of all, where are we and what are we doing? But these are natural phenomena. They're going to happen, but then how we manage them or how we handle them then is the defining factor here. So just giving a view, what's been going on? You know, where are we? What's happening at the moment?
Yes, we are in the middle of the rains. They're subsiding, but we've had good rains in the past 2 rainy seasons, and the rains were so good that I mean, they've covered almost every part of not just the country, but northeast, where, you know, rainfall has always been few and far between. But we had about 3 or 4 cyclical droughts before that rains, and people really suffered. So many people lost their livestock, to the extent thousands had to move from the hinterlands to come and settle in urban areas as urban poor, you know, with nothing to depend on. People are really thankful for the plentiful rains in the past couple of years, or 1.5 years. The only issue was the amount of water that went through the land. That, you know, we did not have dams and ponds to store them. That just got swept into the river and then eventually in the ocean. And given the huge potential that part of the country has for becoming an agricultural belt, because this is a land that's never been tilled since, you know, the time of Adam, the first man. That is the only regret I have. But so far, people are really enjoying themselves. You know, the pastoralists are having a good time. Animals are getting pasture not far away from, you know, the homesteads where they were penned for the night. And things are so good. But the destruction to
to the infrastructure, if at all you can call what is in Northeastern infrastructure, has also been a big blow. Roads being swept away. You've seen the problems where people were stuck, were cut off or stuck in the mud for weeks on end in those first rains we saw late last year. The same scenes being repeated this year with the bus being swept off the road to Garissa. The same spots that were swept away, a few months before, again being swept away because no proper repair work was done. I mean, the usual.
What prevents remedial action from being taken? I mean, if we have these cycles of rainfall, and we know, and even if there is a delay, if the delay in rain, is that not perhaps an opportunity to now work for the preparedness of the rain? Because after the drought, rain tends to follow.
Yes. Always.
Yes. And it's year in, year out. And, and it's not that we don't know what should be done. We do know.
Yes.
So what prevents us from doing what we know ought to be done?
I would say goodwill, lack of it. It's just, that part of the country. I mean, look, a lot has changed since the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. No doubt about that. More and more people in mainstream Kenya are seeing that part of the country as an integral part of this country. But in terms of policy making, and that is where the problem is, we still have a long way to go to catch up with the people of Kenya when it comes to how that part of the country is viewed. Many would disagree with me, but having covered that part of the country, having followed, having grown up in that place, having seen how things are done, yes, there is a departure from past ways of looking at that part of the country, but there is still a long way to go.
I agree completely. From a very lay perspective, I would have assumed that one of the ills that the county system of government sought to cure was precisely that.
Yes.
To ensure that every region is given monies that would help bridge some of these gaps. But more significantly, the crafters of the legislation and governing legislative tools for the county system also ensured that areas that had been neglected were supposed to have a consideration that was deliberately set to help them bridge this gap.
And even more funds allocated towards that end.
Yes.
I would say we've had more teething problems than other parts of the country when it comes to devolution and how it's taken off in the region. It has really helped. It has really helped in bridging some gaps. But again, if you give it a scorecard today, it would be far below average. And mainly because of how we live in that part of the country. And here I blame the society. Clanism, ethnicity, winner takes it all kind of mindset is really crippling the work of counties.
I'd like to explain this, because I would have assumed that clanism has some positive attributes to it. But here you're saying the existence of it or the negative aspects of it are so damning that it negates the very, very positive things that...
exactly.
Yes.
How? If clanism were to be used for inclusion,
yes,
then we will have positive results. But when clanism is used for exclusion, That is where the problem lies.
But who then brings this about? Is this an inward issue?
It is.
And because it is, right? So then can we say that there's neglect that has been applied to this part of the country? Because, one of the things that you said just a few minutes ago was that, the rest of Kenya, is there neglect? Or are we looking at a situation whereby the folks who have been given the responsibility to actually deal with some of these issues have actually failed their own people?
Yes, I'll call
have
it
they not failed their own people? I will call it
self-marginalization. Whereas we had state marginalization in the early years of statehood in this country. After the advent of devolution, we have something called self-marginalization, where the same people were elected are not doing much of what they're supposed to do.
Essentially, I hear you to be saying that their focus, once elected, their focus, if there's anything that points towards development, it's towards people who belong to their clan.
Or who elected them.
That's it.
But why, Mheshimiwa, why? And this is the thing, that if we look at the 10 years, now going on 11, 12 years of devolution, that monies that have gone to county jurisdictions have also gone to these counties. They've gone to the counties of Marsabit, they've gone to Wajir, they've gone
to
Mandera. Monies going to other jurisdictions, the way they have gone to Kiambu, the way they have gone to Kwale, the way they have gone to Kakamega, they have also gone to these counties. But you've also said land has not been tilled from the days of Adam, that there are no roads.
Most of the land
has not been tilled from the days of Adam.
Yes.
For goodness sake. There have been 10 years, 11 years of devolution.
Absolutely.
There have been governors who have been elected. There are deputy governors. There are members of parliament like Mohammed Ado. There are members of county assemblies. These people exist. So how can we say that after these 11 years, where money has gone, where there have been delays, money actually has gone. So why then have we not seen?
It will be a whopping generalization if I put all the northern counties in one basket. Some have done far better than others. But there are those that are really struggling. And I would say they're in the majority. And mostly it's about the stewardship. It's about leadership at the end of the day. At the onset of devolution, there's been the tendency to use the counties as, employment bureaus, if I can call it that way, where there's been a massive increase in the number of staff in counties, and that takes away most of the funds allocated to these counties. Every governor you see is complaining about the wage bill. It's unsustainable. It takes away money that should have been used for development and developing the well-being of the people of that part of the country. There have been attempts to deal with it. Some governors have been very brave and dealt with it. Some of them in a very crude way, firing one morning 3,000 or so members of staff, something that ends up in court and ends up in long legal battles. That also takes away the time that they should have concentrated on. So there's a lot happening, but again, an attempt to try and fix it, but so far. Maybe it's going to bear fruit in the future, but so far we're not seeing much.
So, can I ask the question again? Has there been neglect by the government of Kenya, by other parts of the country, of this particular region? Can you say that there has been neglect in the last 10 years?
It's debatable. It's debatable in the sense that the Northeast region is getting much more attention and much more resources than people in that part of the country are used to. In terms of devolution and the allocation of funds to county governments that are supposed to improve the lot of those people. Is much of that money having the desired effect? I would be very dishonest to say it is having that intended impact. But again, we cannot, cry out and complain as we used to before of marginalization and things like that, because it's no longer state marginalization. What is happening is more or less self-inflicted. It's self-marginalization.
Yeah. Well, let me take a few steps back. You see, you look at the northern part of the country, and if you compare it with the other parts of the country, yes, there are places in this country that, again, were neglected deliberately. Some even by policy, really. Because if you had a colonial policy that was of the view that the focus was going to be on areas that they considered productive policy, and by dint of whatever perspective they had, it meant therefore that the northern part of Kenya was not considered to be productive. So very little, absolutely minimal, was done. So now comes devolution. The catching up you have to do is vast. Because the things that other people take for granted, roads, hospitals, schools, whatever, I mean, you are starting with the very basics that other parts of the country have had for decades. So yes, the teething problems are likely to be there. But then when it comes to county money, if I look at the Auditor General's reports year in, year out, this money that counties receive, it confuses everybody. Do not be fooled. It's not a northern Kenyan problem. Point in direction and tell me a county where this money hasn't gotten to the heads of the governors, and that you keep wondering what on earth is going on here. Anything other than what they're supposed to do. Okay, now 10 years have gone by, we figure, okay, by now you should have figured out how you ought to do this. But that doesn't seem to be the case. The question I want to ask is this. When we talk about the public understanding their rights as citizens of this country, would you say the people of your constituency, because that's where you're the boss, do you really believe that they understand their rights? And if they do, are they able to stand and say, folks, you may be governor, you may be MP, but this is what is due to us?
A great deal of them don't. But a great deal of them too do. Because this is the era of social media. And people are much, much more aware than they've ever been before. And you raise a very good question. The question of the region having to start from, point zero.
Yes.
Scratch. And so much being needed by societies across the counties. Yes, that is true, because there's been very little investment in the first 50 years since independence. Very little.
We've had to get to the 21st century for people in that region to see tarmac, for
but
heaven's
again,
sake.
What we are judging some of these counties on is how they are managing and handling existing amenities, existing facilities. For example, hospitals. Yes, you've built the hospital. Yes, you've staffed it, but you're not giving it drugs. Understand?
So what is supposed to happen?
For simple tests like malaria tests and things like that, people have to go travel, maybe put a sick person.
Travel.
Yes, in a taxi, and travel 100 kilometers, 150 kilometers
to get a test.
Yes. For example, in my constituency, and hopefully it gets handled now because there's a World Bank project that's building us the X-ray room. In the headquarters of my constituency, Habaswein, there's no way the hospital, which is called a referral hospital, a level 5 hospital, can do X-ray.
They don't have the facility.
When you say
they
there's
have
no
the
way,
equipment.
okay.
They have the equipment.
Yes.
But then
So what's the problem?
They didn't have the X-ray room, and the electricity, was yes, it's there, but it's not the right circuit.
I'm okay. We're going to go.
I'm sorry. It's not a laughable matter.
No.
It's not a laughing matter.
Look, I think that sometimes the way to then be able to cope sometimes is that you lean on humor, because it allows you to cope through a particular situation. Not necessarily that you're laughing at a problem, but that you laugh for
relief.
For relief. Yeah. Right? And we're going to go to break in a minute, but I think to come up to this point is that it needs to be said that there's no reason why such a situation in this part of the country, in any part of the country, should be the experience of so many people, not in 2024.
Exactly.
And one has to ask, where is the leadership and where is the responsibility of the folks? It cannot be that it's the continual leaning on this crutch, in my opinion, that there has been neglect, which you've, admittedly said this morning that, that's not necessarily what it is. But that I think there's this lack of goodwill to actually get it done. Mm-hmm. And that might be an invisible crutch in the minds of leaders today who said, yes, well, we've always been neglected, so we're just living in this in this imaginary bubble of this neglect where, the reins have long been dropped.
Yeah.
So there must be something, Mohammed, that we say folks cannot just let go of and actually just get the job done.
Yes, indeed. And that's why people who've been entrusted with public trust, like me, have to speak out. And I keep talking about it because I believe things can be better than they are if everybody does their bit. And the goal should always be to take the people from where they are to a much better place. And I believe it's possible. It's possible. As long as there is the will, there is the way. We cannot settle for mediocrity. We cannot settle for a job half done or a job not well done,
or not done at all,
or not done at all in many cases. So we have to keep chipping, the good old rock and see how we go from here. But again, I believe that people in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people, to change the lives of people, to make use of the resources entrusted to them as best as they possibly could in improving the lives of the people who entrusted them.
Indeed, let's take a break on that. Let's take a break on that note. Mohammed Ado is the Member of Parliament for the Wajir South constituency. We're talking about a number of things this morning, looking into after the drought, and then have come the rains, and then infrastructure, which doesn't exist. Toxic waste disposal is another big issue in this part, and we'll look into that. We're going to take a break and come back right after that. Conversation continues at 28 to 7.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba, which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will, okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, hawa watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 25 and we'll see highs of 27. In a sunny Nakuru at 16, highs of 26, and sunny in Nyeri at 17, and it's 13, and partly sunny in Eldoret. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 13. It's cloudy at 25 in Mombasa with highs of 30, and in Malindi we'll see highs of 30 where it's cloudy at 25. Kisumu's sunny at 19 with highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Kakamega, currently at 17. It's sunny this morning at 22 in Kampala with highs of 28, while it's cloudy conditions at 24 in Dar es Salaam with highs of 27. We're looking into a mostly sunny Johannesburg at 10 degrees with highs of 19, while in Mogadishu at 29 it's sunny going to highs of 34. The sun is up at 16 in Addis Ababa with highs of 26, and it's a clear morning in Lagos at 26, 27 with highs of 34. Kinshasa's cloudy at 24 going to highs of 33.
Chilled Spice.
Okay, so looking at more thicker superhighway coming into the CBD this morning, to be expected into traffic hour now proper at this time, and traffic then starting to build. Actually, it started to build a while ago, and it's coming in then from that outer ring junction, but that's staved off a little bit as you get to the tunnel. Then you come out of that with no problem. Going towards Wangari Maathai or going towards Murang'a Road, you'll be okay. Kiambu Road, not so much traffic as you go through towards Muthaiga Square, so that can all be managed. What else are we looking at? Traffic on Ngong Road, yes, there is a little bit of that here and there, and there's traffic on Uhuru Highway leading into the city at the Haile Selassie Junction. Apart from that, Southern Bypass looks good, as does the Eastern now. The Northern Bypass, we haven't seen traffic there for quite a while. It's probably going to remain that way for some time. Just in case anything does go out of whack, let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Experience the vibrant pulse of Africa at Festac Africa Festival 2024 in Kisumu. Join us for a week-long celebration of culture, music, fashion, and more from May 20th to 26th. Dive into sustainable growth with food, art.
All right, coming in at 24 minutes to 8 o'clock, looking at conversations that continue this morning with Member of Parliament for Wajir South Constituency, Mohammed Ado, and looking at some of those conversations today. As we're coming in at 23 minutes to the top of the hour, we continue with that conversation. And we're just saying, look, over years of what would have been expected to be development, number of things not happening, and saying, look, it's time for a lot of introspection. It's time for work to actually start being done. One of the things that is interesting that has come up a number of times is that this seems to be an area where there's a lot of waste disposal, wanton waste disposal. First of all, explain, what is this? Why is it an issue? And why particularly unique to this particular part of the country?
Mm-hmm. Look, the closest we have come to a confirmation was a bombshell dropped by Honorable Cyrus Jirongo a couple of weeks ago while talking to Dr. Lumumba. And he said that he had accosted former President Moi with documents from the Ministry of Energy in which toxic or nuclear waste was being dumped in northeastern Kenya, that he was threatened and he had to keep quiet. That's the closest we have come to a confirmation. But the rumors about the existence of toxic waste, or sometimes some call it nuclear waste, being dumped in northeastern have been there from the time I was a child growing up in northeastern Kenya. I remember in 1988, I was in primary 6. Primary 6, yes, I remember. And there was this company that came to Garissa, and that's where we lived, and that's where I was schooling at that point. And the company came on the pretext of exploring for oil, and they would get so many laborers, from the town and go to the outskirts of the town, the north of Garissa, and they will dig huge trenches. And the workers who used to work for them up to today narrate how at the weekend they were told to leave, and then containers, sealed containers, they say, were buried there. And some of them vow, not just in Garissa but also in Wajir South, my constituency, they vow they know the exact places where this toxic waste dumping was done. And thereafter followed an epidemic of cancer. I mean, the rates of cancer in Garissa, Wajir and Mandera are some of the highest in Kenya. And people are dying daily of, cancer, particularly of the esophagus.
Really?
Yes. And that is a huge source of worry. So when Cyrus Jirongo came up and gave this point blank, almost confirmation about the existence of this, that created jitters in the entire north. And people are worried. And what they want is, first of all, a proper investigation done. Experts to go down to the ground. There are people who worked for these companies, used to call itself Kenya Oil Service, on the pretext of exploring for oil. They are said to have done that. The people can say they can pinpoint exactly where this dumping took place, and taking advantage of the existence of people who've been eyewitnesses to what is essentially a crime, and a huge one at that. We need proper investigations done, experts to go on the ground, and if this is ascertained, a proper cleanup done, and then followed by reparations to all those affected. And I am a victim as well of this cancer epidemic. I lost my mother to cancer. I've lost about 6 of my uncles, and right now I am treating one of my maternal uncles for cancer. And that is a very intimate thing with most families in North. There is no family in Northeastern that hasn't lost, 2 or 3 people to cancer.
And are we seeing a direct correlation between the dumping of this toxic waste and the incidences of cancer that we're seeing, as according to what you're saying, higher numbers rising in the last, 10 years or so? Are we seeing a direct correlation that has been proven unequivocally between the two?
It's not been proven.
Okay.
But then there are the rumors of toxic waste dumping in Northeastern. And then there is the cancer epidemic. And people are saying these two things are related. Now, it is up to the authorities to prove us wrong. Yes.
What should happen? I mean, if we see something like this and we see that there's chatter, what should happen? Who then would be responsible for flagging this and saying, let's actually have something done, some kind of investigation looked into around this?
I think it's the Ministry of Environment, as well as the Ministry of Energy, because this was done in the name of exploration for oil. And the documents Cyrus Jirongo is alleging came from the Ministry of Energy. So what we need is proper investigations done. We are a democratic society. We are a country that prides itself with having the basic freedoms. And it is our basic right as the people of Northeastern to put this matter to rest once and for all. Either prove the rumor mills right, that there existed the dumping of toxic waste in that region, and remedies done to ensure that this, because most of these places where the alleged dumping took place is pasture land, and livestock are grazing on it. And if at all there are toxic substances underneath the earth, then the grass is not going to be safe from it. And this gets passed on to the people when they consume the milk and flesh of those animals. So we're dealing with a public health catastrophe if we do not remedy this situation. And that's why we're saying, so that we put this matter to rest, so that we get, peace of mind that we seek. Please investigate this issue. Let experts go on the ground. And if at all it's found that the toxic waste was dumped into this, then let's do what needs to be done.
Has this matter been brought, for example, to the House, to the National Assembly?
Yes, I'm taking it to the House.
You are taking it to the House? How so?
Yes. I'm asking for a statement.
Okay.
Yes, from the government. Yeah.
But if that
today or tomorrow.
If that is the case, remember, in the earlier hours, we're talking about the rains and the heavy rains and the water's being washed away. Now you tell me, if this is actually true and it rains, water is washed downstream, what happens to those counties that neighbor? Okay, again, you want to look at counties like Meru.
Yes.
You want to look at Nyeri. You want to come down and you want to ask yourself, have we witnessed a high and sharp increase in cancer cases in these regions? And the answer will be yes.
No doubt.
Okay, so now, is there evidence to tie these allegations together with what we see? Because it has been raised and it has been asked, why is it? What is it about some of these areas where you find the number of cases
skyrocketing
of cancer? Yes, what is it that's happening? And no clear answer has been provided. There have been those who suggest, well, we're now able to detect it better, so we're able to see more. Fine, we get that one. But still, the numbers are increasing and it's unusual. Unusually so. What is it that is causing this? But even more importantly, will the government be willing to investigate this? Because it has very serious implications.
Well, so far we haven't seen any movement in that direction.
You see, if this is true, unfortunately, it is a case where one could argue genocide. You could argue that this is a deliberate attempt to actually kill a whole group of individuals or citizens of this country.
Is it going in that direction? I mean,
well, cancer kills. You see, this is the thing.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yeah. And then taking into consideration that this is toxic waste, that if we're looking at, world global guidelines of how you're supposed to dispose of this kind of toxic waste, has it actually been followed? And then if it has not been followed, then there is an element of culpability that somebody is going to have to take for that, because we know what would happen. I mean, look at there are many examples around the world of this, and that we do know that folks have used these kinds of things as weapons. It's not talking about any kind of intent. It's saying that if this has happened and the manner in which it has happened, it should have been taken care of better. In the event that it did not, then who will take responsibility for the people who got sick, if the two can be connected?
I mean, we're also not a nuclear power producing country.
No, we are not.
Neither do we produce nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
This is waste, toxic waste that came from outside this country.
Well, it's a business.
So there's criminal culpability in the authorities then, and those people who took part in the process of dumping the waste there. They actually exchanged the lives of people with money, and that I don't know any greater crime than that. Yeah, killing for money.
When will you be taking this to the House in terms of a motion for some kind of attention?
Yeah, it's going through the steps of the House, and hopefully within the week. I mean, we have a couple of sittings today and a sitting tomorrow. Hopefully within those 3 sittings we should be able to get it done. Yes.
All right, let's come back to the region, and let's just even look at Wajir as a county, and then look at some of the things that are still happening, and still that call for responsibility and accountability when it comes to leaders and leadership and governance to be able to get things done. Many would say it's been too long. I mean, we've established certain things just from our conversation this morning, but then in terms of, should we give Should there be timelines? I mean, whether we're looking at education, whether we're looking at health, infrastructure, roads, etc. We've talked about roads being washed away with the rain, drought then decimating a particular area when it comes and it dries up. And then water comes and there's a deluge and there's nothing like, saving or harvesting water. It just looks like it's cyclical and that it will continue in this manner. But what's going to stop? What's going to be that stick that is put in the middle of the cycle and then gets things going in the other direction? What honestly needs to happen? Power has changed hands. Systems of government have changed, whereby we went from, districts, and then you went from provinces, and then come now to counties.
And sub-counties.
And sub-counties. All of that has changed, but the situation has not. So what is needed?
We need to go beyond the window dressing to the real issues afflicting the people. And leadership needs to be taken with much more seriousness than it is at the moment. People should only run for office only when they know that they are ready and willing to change the lives of the people for the better. And again, the issue of transparency, accountability, definitely. And the society also has a stake in this. Stop electing people along clan lines. Have a different set of benchmarks in which you can elect your leaders.
It sounds to me then a whole load of education then, and civic education for that matter, needs to
is needed, yes.
How do you say to people whose almost everything is vested in the clan culture, right? Whether you're talking about hereditary mechanisms, whether you're talking about systems of family, whether you're talking about inheritance, almost everything that happens, decisions that are made, are done on the clan system. So now here we are saying that for this governance, whereby you want to make sure that the area is developed now, step away from the clan system. How do you start to let people know that this thing that you've grown up with all your life, that has dictated a lot of the things that you do, please stop me when I'm wrong, that has dictated almost everything that you do. Now we are saying, when you want to pick a leader, now please put the clan system aside and then pick a leader. How do you divorce the two?
Because what brought us here will not take us where we want to go. Clanism had its purposes, and it had its purposes in a pastoralist society that needed social insurance, that when droughts came and somebody lost their herd, the clan will step in and help him restock. Or when his livestock was taken away by cattle rustlers or the next clan, then his clan would gather the warriors who would return his herd or bring him another herd. Those are the gone days. We're living in modern days.
Has the mindset changed though?
Yes and no. It has changed in many ways. But when it comes to the issue of clanism and that social insurance bit, it hasn't changed. And that's why you see it being applied also on matters leadership and elections. And it's our turn to it phenomenon.
Do you have examples of leadership in that region where they've gone beyond clanism and have tried to bring all these clans together and try to get them to work as a unified group?
Well, there have been attempts. I'm not going to deny that, and I'm not going to diss people efforts. There have been attempts, but they're not having the intended results because that wave of clanism is still very much intact within society. So there's a great need, as Du said, for civic education. People need to be educated, but also we should be able to gauge, because we've got leaders who've lived in other societies abroad, have seen how the world works, are educated, they should inspire change through action. So just about telling the people and this, get out there and work for the entire society. Work for the people who live in that geographical area, whether it's a county or constituency. So, it's a work in progress. Everybody says they want to do that. But again, we're not moving at the speed we're supposed to move if we are to catch up with the rest of Kenya and the world.
Now, are we saying, therefore, that people who are elected, for instance, in the leadership positions like, say, governor, because that their clan clearly will vote for them, but to get the numbers, it means other people from other clans also vote for you?
Yes.
So it means it is possible to work with other clans?
It is possible. It's never impossible.
Yes.
It is. If you work with them during the campaigns, then you can work with them.
Yes. So
in the time that you're providing services for them.
You work together, you get elected. Then what happens?
Then you get told, that is your grassroots. Those are your people. It happens. And you know what? Unless we start talking about these painful issues, we start debating, we start discussing these things with a view to finding solutions, we will never be able to find, our footing. We will keep on doing the same things over and over again while expecting different results.
And it can't be a lone voice either, can it, Mohammed Washima? Because we're talking about look, if we want to go on geography alone, this is a vast area.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we're looking at an area that has absolute potential,
huge potential,
to do some fantastic things, not just for the region but for the country as a whole.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it is put in the hands of individuals who maybe just don't have that gusto that is necessary to then be able to get it from that place to the next. So how do we hold those leaders who are there today, or how do we hold those individuals then accountable for what they're supposed to be doing? And we say that there must be citizen-centered governance and leadership. There must be, or at the very least, citizen-involved leadership. Yeah. But that doesn't seem to be happening at all. People must be aware of the situation. Are people involved in keeping leaders accountable?
Yes, they are, because you will hear the loud murmurs, you will hear their cries on social media, you will see them on media complaining loudly about not having this service or that service, and how the affairs of their county or area, whether it's a sub-county or a ward, is being run. But there's been no united voice in seeking for change. And then the society also not reflecting upon itself in terms of its contribution to the existing problem and changing ways. So it's a lot of things in one play, and I it's very easy to blame the leadership alone, because sometimes there are times when I hit my head against the wall, even in serving my constituents, where I get overruled when I know my way is the right way. And some of these elders are so powerful, very, very powerful. So when they tell you no, it's a no, and you cannot even go and do what you want to do on the ground. So, there's a need for a mindset change, but there's also a need for the public to realize that they have a stake in the problem and they have a contribution.
One of the pitfalls of marginalization, it also entrenches traditionalism.
Yes.
So the shift and the change and the dynamism that other cultures experience because of the interactions, you will find that when you're marginalized, you look inward.
Yes.
Now, even when changes come about and you have devolution, say for instance, the mindset doesn't actually budge. It moves, but slowly. Why? Because now, again, with something like devolution, the advantage is seen, because if one of your own is in that position of authority, then benefits again come to you. Yes. So now, the larger picture of, look, if the larger community and all these other clans are and they have their interests looked after, then there's a greater benefit for everyone.
Yes.
it's a journey that may have started, but it takes a bit of time before people actually get to see it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and it needs the practical application of it on the ground for people to change their mindset about, belonging to just these ethnic fiefdoms that they've created for themselves out of survival.
Exactly.
Especially given the hard times that they've passed through. It's part of the basic survival instincts applied and used over the years, and it's they are unable to let go.
Yes,
I mean, as late as 2024, there are people educated, some of them very, very educated, who still very clanist in nature,
in their minds,
and they become an impediment to progress in the process.
How does all, and very quickly, because our time is running down in literally seconds, how does this all fit into what's happening in the country, and what should we do going forward? Very quickly from you, Mohammed.
I was reading one of the newspapers yesterday, and it's rare to come across good news these days, and I was really, it had a soothing feeling on me that actually the president's efforts and the tough options he's chosen are bearing fruit in terms of bringing the cost of living down, hopefully, and we pray those options continue to produce for us. But again, I know it's still very early for many Kenyans across there who are still feeling the pinch. Many people still in abject poverty. Where we are and where we are supposed to be are totally different. But again, Rome was not built in a day, and I really pray that this country gets out of the doldrums very soon.
Mohammed Ado, Member of Parliament, Wajir South Constituency, thank you for being here this morning. Hopefully all will continue to go towards a better situation. Asante Sana. It's 8:01.
Investigations that will lead to the arrest and arraignment of the suspect. 2 people were left dead at Kisumu location in Baringo Central after a group of people attacked individuals who were planting on a family farm. They randomly attacked them with pangas and crude weapons. The family of the late Richard Kibet Chumba, 16 years old, who was killed by the rowdy members, stated that attackers had land dispute with their family in the past. Despite Chief Paul Kuri resolving it, they were ambushed while planting, resulting in the elderly man being killed on the spot after being severely cut all over his body, and one middle-aged man seriously injured. And a middle-aged woman has been sentenced to 5 years in prison or pay a 15 million shillings fine for taking pictures of a 7-year-old girl and sending them to her boyfriend. Appearing before Milimani Children's Court Principal Magistrate Jackie Kibosia, the accused Sharon Wabwila was convicted of the offence of undertaking child pornography. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution in a statement said it had sought compensation for the victim, arguing that the minor had suffered emotional damage. And sugarcane farmers in Kisumu are now seeking intervention from the courts to revoke the new prices announced by the Agriculture and Food Authority last week, Monday. In the petition filed under the certificate of urgency at the Kisumu High Court, Farmer Charles Atiang indicated that the move was unilateral and did not factor in public participation from sugarcane farmers and millers. The circular indicated a 13% drop of sugarcane per ton, where farmers were directed to sell their produce at 5,100 shillings per ton, down from 5,900 shillings. And at least 800 people in Indonesia's North Sulawesi province have been evacuated after multiple eruptions of the area's Ruang volcano, which for days has spewed lava and ash clouds into the sky. This is according to the country's volcanology agency. The volcano, located on Ruang Island about 100 kilometers from the provincial capital Manado, has erupted more than 3 times since Tuesday. Authorities have raised the alert level to the second highest level following increased activity. And women's bodies have become political battleground, putting at risk 30 years of progress on sexual and reproductive health for women and girls. This is according to the United Nations. Though maternal mortality rates and unwarranted pregnancy rates have been steadily falling, progress is now slowing or even flattening on key measures, said the United Nations Population Fund UNFPA. 30 years ago, at a conference in Cairo, 179 countries agreed to put reproductive health at the heart of sustainable development, which paved the way for decades of progress, according to UNFPA Chief Natalia Kanin, who herself attended the conference and also warned that the ongoing wars across the world is worsening the situation. And MPs have backed a plan to ban anyone born after 2009 from buying cigarettes, effectively ensuring it will become law. The measures, championed by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, survived despite opposition from several leading Tory figures, including 2 ex-MPs. Health Secretary Victoria Atkins told MPs there's no liberty in addiction, as she defended the plans. The tobacco and vapes bill passed by 383 votes to 67. And the United Nations Security Council Committee, considering an application by the Palestinian Authority to become a full UN member, was unable to make a unanimous recommendation on whether it met the criteria, according to the committee report. Now, the Palestinian Authority is still expected to push the 15-member Security Council to vote as early as tomorrow on a draft resolution recommending it becomes a full member of the world body, according to diplomats. Now, Security Council member Algeria circulated a draft text late Tuesday. Such membership would effectively recognize a Palestinian state. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asada. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM Kisumu.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga.
Muga, not Muga.
He's here and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman, another man marries trouble.
Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It will die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IBC.
You can't.
I tell you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Kina Ednah, it's like you said, the bees and the peas. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite. Opposite. Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day.
Okay, so where are we? A few minutes after 8 o'clock, and we're looking at traffic still in parts of the city, but it's not too crazy. This is great. And we're likely to see in a couple of weeks that things are going to pick up, but hey, coming off a thicker superhighway, it looks all right. As you're also coming off of Kiambu Road, okay, a smidgen of traffic as you then approach Muthaiga Square. Also looking at some of it here and there, coming out of Wayaki Way and then heading out towards Westlands. It's busy on Gong Road in some parts, here and there at your different junctions, but all to be taken in stride. So like I said, nothing crazy jumping out at you right now, and we are in traffic hour. Folks are using the bypasses, so we're able to get where we're going without too much of an issue. Outer Ring looks good. You're fine also coming in from Ruiru at the bypass and then onto the thicker superhighway. So all of this looks all right, at least for now. We're going to keep checking in. Let's look at the top of the hour and see, rather, 1:30 and see what it looks like then. And we shall talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
The third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. Hello to all of our audiences on different platforms and then just coming into the conversation this morning. All right, we're getting into a status conversation this hour and we're looking at there's a burden in the country. Where have we dropped the ball? And our guest for this hour is already seated in the hot seat, and I tell you, she comes with flames herself to talk on certain issues. But before I tell you who she is and what it is, let me just remind you that if you have a plan or if you have an idea in your head and you're saying, you know what, by the time I'm 30, by the time I'm 40, by the time I'm 50, I ought to have done 1, 2, 3, but I'm really not sure how I want to do it. Am I going to keep aside a few coins here and there so that I can get this done? Now, even with my coins, what do I do and how do I activate the plan? Well, the good folks at ICA Lion are saying we will help you activate your plan. Before, it used to be bring your money and we'll tell you this is what you do. Not anymore. They're saying you have an idea, we have the expertise. How about you come, let's reason together and let's see what we can actually do for you so that what you want to do actually comes into reality. So what do? Head on down, talk to the folks at ICA Lion, and they'll say, okay, let's how we can put this together. Send an email to plan@icealion.co.ke. Go onto the website, see the different things that different folks are doing and see how you want to plug in. What's the website? It's plan.icealion.co.ke. Activate your plan today. Okay, we're getting into that many hats or many balls up in the air conversation this hour. And our guest for the hour in the hot seat this morning is Janet Okoh. She's an education expert and executive director of Tunza Mtoto Coalition, and she's our guest this hour. Janet, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you always.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you can be here. Mm-hmm. There are many balls up in there. These are not even hot potatoes. They're fireballs. They're burning our fingers, throwing them and saying, yeah, what are we doing? But somebody dropped it and it has then now multiplied into very many balls that we're throwing up. But we're going to deal with two of them today. And those are education and health. And we're going to say, okay, so where are we? And where did we drop it? But the proverb for today is a really interesting one. And CT has gone to Cabo Verde to bring us that proverb. This guy's lucky he gets to travel. He's racking up those miles. So he's going to proverb from Cabo Verde.
Yes. Otherwise, people know it as Cape Verde. Well, rats don't dance in the cat's doorway.
Why is that they don't? Here we do. Here we do.
I told you.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you, Janet? How would you interpret that?
Cats
don't dance in the cat's doorway.
In the dogs, huh? Rats
don't dance in the cat's doorway.
Of course, they appreciate the consequences of doing that. So it's only wise rats that don't do that.
Yes.
You would find foolish ones dancing anyway. And when they start being consumed, they now start yelling. But there is a problem. But they were forewarned.
Right.
I think that very well describes our situation in the country today.
It does, eh?
Yeah, it does perfectly. You're told don't go close to a corrupt politician. Don't give them responsibility to watch over your finances. But you do anyway.
You do anyway. Cry later.
Then you cry later.
Okay, guns blazing, everything out of the holster. Let's go shooting from the hip this morning. And so we are saying there are certain things that don't seem to be going on. Okay, there's certain things we've seen some relief from, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Whether they want to be called artificial, whatever. Fuel prices have gone down for the 5th consecutive month. Yes, good. Mm-hmm. The shilling against the USD has dropped about 30 points in the last, 1 month. So, okay, is that good? Yes, good. However, there are some things that are hitting us in the face day in, day out. The doctors are on the street. We're in the middle of this yesterday. They're outside Parliament. In another 2 days, they'll be at the next place. Education, schools are on break, but there seems to be, something. So let's start with the health part of it right now, and then we'll come to education later, which we know, of course, that you're, well versed in a lot of these areas. Health. Where did we drop the ball? What is going on? As the fire continues to rage, more and more people are not pouring water on the fire, but they're joining and putting firewood in the furnace. Why? What's going on?
Yeah, I think we are existing, I'm avoiding the word living, in a very tough period of time. I say tough because we see a lot of information being manipulated to suit a certain narrative. And people that are doing that want to, I think that the laws of economics have been thoroughly challenged, that one person could be standing at a table and telling us the economy of the country is doing so well, and another section of Kenyans is really not feeling how that economy that is doing so well is affecting them. And I want us to look at the crisis in health today and think about the cabinet secretary for health, and who, with a lot of respect, has thoroughly mismanaged the crisis that we have at current. That tells you something. And I don't want to really focus on the cabinet secretary for health, because with her, Kenyans do not have any contract. But Kenyans have a contract with the appointing authority of someone like the cabinet secretary. And that particular person, I would want to look at them this morning and ask them if they are proud of the person they put at the helm of the sector. If they are, it tells me something about them. They don't care. For them, it's managing. It's managing Kenyans. I throw in. Prices of milk have dropped. I throw in maize is a piece. I throw in fuel. But if it really hurts the head of state, I would want him to visit Mbagathi. I would want him to visit Mama Lucy, and then he comes back and sits and continue issuing the threats and a narrative that doctors of this country are well paid. It takes leadership to sit down with the doctors, listen to them, and solve the problem. It is not always a narrative of I'm correct, I must make tough decisions, for the long term. Excuse me. So the persons that are losing their loved ones after your good self and after your beautiful narrative, what conversation do you want to have with those people? And then if you look at how really we are managing the health sector, it's so much so underfunded. According to international benchmarks, and I'm talking about the Abuja Declaration, we're supposed to be spending about 15% of our budget on health. We are barely doing half. We are actually doing 7%. And even that 7%, there is no fidelity in ensuring that the entire 7% goes to health. Even in that 7%, we know in this country that health is devolved. Sometimes I look at governors and I really pity them. Because the national government decides, I am not sending this money today, I am sending this money this other day. Meanwhile, our dispensaries that according to the universal healthcare coverage policies are supposed to not be charging their clients.
Yes.
But when you don't send money, and when you do, you don't even send that money timely, and then you want to send them in the percentages that you want to. So really, how would governors in this country be expected to manage health? And with that background, I really don't want us to get into the technical issues. We really must rise high up there and ask ourselves, how did we get there? And this is how we got there.
Let's look at it historically a little bit, Janet, because there's an argument, and I think it's really made the rounds here that, a lot of the issues that are being agitated for by the medical workers, because it's not just doctors anymore. We've seen that everybody seems to have joined, and across cadres, they've joined, and they said, you know what, this is enough. So we're looking at historical issues, whether we want to bring in a 2017 to 2021 CBA. I mean, all of this has been put in the public arena for discussion over the last, month and prior to that. So we're looking, unfortunately, at a series of mismanagement of a process. It doesn't matter. We can talk about the CS Nakumicha today and talk about presently what is being mismanaged in terms of the process. But can we do that void of the mismanagement of the process from 2017, which was 7 years ago, until today, where some of the issues whereby they're saying complete what we agreed over 4 years, complete what we agreed over 7 years ago. It was signed. I don't care whether it was a political agreement. I don't care whether somebody was just trying to say, let's just save our skin for now so that these guys can go back to work and clean the egg off our face. There was a mismanagement of a process, and it was historical in nature. Today is just reliving what was done 7 years ago. How do we account for that?
And you see that that narrative of us looking at every problem and wanting to escape it by saying, it is not me. It is not me that agreed to it. It was somebody else. You don't even want to really be colors and have this candid conversation. You that is saying it is not you. We know where you sat on the tables, even during that particular time, 7 years ago. You were not a mamamboga. You sat on the tables. You were there. Show us your voice. That particular time. What did you say? At that particular time, if you knew that it was unrealistic, and you were not a nobody, matter of fact, you were second in command. Show us your voice that day. If you did not speak that time, can you own up? And it is not even a conversation of whether it was realistic or it wasn't. It's about constitutionalism and attempting to show this country that you have some little respect for life, you have some little respect for human dignity. If you go down there and see how citizens of this country are suffering in hospitals, no one to attend to them, and that alone really washes away all these other issues that we want, because it is not only in this doctor's strike issue that we have listened to this conversation that it was not me. A lot of the things, what is it that this government is owning up to? Everything about it. That's it is not me. These are things that were done. And where were you that particular time? And what did you say that time when all these bad things were happening? Where is your voice? Show us your voice. What did you say? So I think what we are looking at current is, do we have leaders that really believe in constitutionalism? Do we have shared values anymore? Or are we looking at people that are in business, transacting, moving a day at a time, forging and dodging citizens, developing this narrative today, and then tomorrow when it turns out the other day? I want to refer you to one thing. That during the time when the cost of fuel was high, the head of state said that he was not responsible for the circumstances that are making the cost of fuel. It is a global phenomenon. Now that the prices are dropping a little, he is there owning up and saying that it is because I did this, it is because I did the other, it is because I did the other. Consistency, insincerity, conmanship, dodging, narrative development, sloganeering. No, we've lost it. We cannot run a country like that. And that is why speak about health. We know what is ailing the health sector. We have a government that does not believe in UHC. We have a government that believes in a narrative to run it for 3 months. If we can dodge this, if we can develop this slogan, we don't do that. Look at this. How would you have a shopkeeper coming in to a shop selling milk for 5 shillings when the other shopkeeper was selling it at 3 shillings? Then 2 months in between, you lower that milk by 4 shillings. And then you come here and tell us that I have done this, I have done. No, all of us are sad. We were used to buying milk at 3 shillings. Yeah. We know that you increased it to. So lowering it by 4 shillings, you're still stealing from us. We still are sad, And those are the things that Kenyans, we ourselves are not honest people. Kenyans themselves are not honest people, because Kenyans choose when to tell their leaders and what to tell them. If you're benefiting from that particular regime, you will see people silencing us and telling us, no, you're fighting our government. You're fighting our government. My friend, I have a medical cover. Yes, I'm fighting for you. Who, when you hit by a motorbike on the road, you will be in Bagavi. There is no drug. There is nothing. You don't even have NHIF. You don't even know how NHIF is working. And you cannot let people talk when they're telling your government, please, this is our country. I am not speaking like this because tomorrow I want to require the services on Pagati. I'm speaking like this because I know. And that's why you see a lot of Kenyans are silent. You know why Kenyans are silent? Because the burden carriers of this country are the middle class. They are the burden carriers. But a while ago, there's another cadre of people that were called hustlers. And they were told, this is your country, you are the ones who will do ABCD. Today, look at your payslip. Today, you are the burden carrier. Every of your deductions that is going to government, that notwithstanding, your sick mother at home, if you have somebody that is a pensioner, you're the one who is carrying that burden. If they have a toothache, I'm very sure a phone call will come to you right about today. Kenyans have got every reason to be angry. And while we are at it, we also owe ourselves to tell ourselves the truth, that we are also not an honest people. We do not deserve honest leaders, because when leaders come to us, we do not tell them that no, this we are not doing. Let me tell you, in countries where people are a little more civilized, would you have a situation like the one we're having today? We have a collapsed healthcare system, collapsed. Let anybody go to any healthcare facility today and be attended to. It is collapsed completely.
Do you think one of the major issues, for example, that faces us with this health crisis, whereby they're saying let the interns that who essentially need a license to then be able to operate as doctors in this country, they must go for this 1-year internship, okay? And they're asking for this, obviously, this pay. And now we are being told, okay, well, we're going to pay you less than half of that, and maybe we can have a conversation about that. Do you think this issue of posting them and paying them is going to solve the health crisis in the country?
Let me tell you, I am with the doctors 100%. Let them demand the amount of money they want to demand. Yesterday, Parliament of this country approved CAS positions. Let nobody tell anybody that there is no money. We have got money in this country. Yes, we have money, but we have money to pay idlers, irrelevant people who, but we have no money to pay critical workers of this country. Do you know how labor intensive health workers, because you have to, it's not even like a classroom where you put 40 children or even 100 in the situation of Nairobi. You put 130 children in one class and it is only one teacher who stands there and issues instructions.
Yes.
That is in education. But in health, they actually have to touch each and every patient. They have to touch each and every body part. It is the ear. They look at it and they look at it properly. That is how, those are the kinds of people that we are dodging in the air and asking, we want to pay, we don't want to pay you. And then there are some people called CASs. I don't even know what they're coming to do. By saying what they're coming to do, I am talking about the qualifications of the people that we saw being enlisted as CASs. Tell me what value they're coming to add to the public service. And we want to pay them millions. We want to give them fleets of cars. We are not serious. We are not serious.
The government would realize that, you know what, actually, the things that you're saying today, and said, all right, let us do what we agreed, that we could end this thing today.
Yes, I know that we could end these things today, because I have seen government waking up today and doing very funny things. Yesterday I was having a conversation with someone from Kiambu, and they were telling me that the government of Kiambu is giving every household vifaranga.
Every?
I don't want to laugh because
every?
Yes, vifaranga.
Yes, chicks.
Chicks. The chicks. 1-day-old chicks. And it will bother you the amount of money that has been allocated to that.
I'm asking every.
Not accompanied by data, by research, by M&D, that we gave you 5, and then do you have feeds? You can imagine giving an old lady some 5 chicks, so where does she get the feeds? Where does she get the vaccine?
Where is she keeping
them? so 2 or 3 will die. Let me tell you, we actually have got money in this country. The only problem is that I don't know what plans people are implementing. And what we have realized is that people are implementing populist or campaign-oriented projects. It is for the same reason that you look at people in this county of Nairobi saying that we don't have this, we don't have the other, but we have 1.9 billion every year for broken rice and beans to schools. 1.9 billion every year, a budget higher than our health budget. That is how we are as a people. Imagining that 1.9 billion is feeding, I saw Sakaja giving the data yesterday, give or take 150,000. That's, you're spending 1.9 billion to feed 150. And then throwing some 700 million somewhere. I wish you'd see the photos that go around. That drugs have been taken to a dispensary in a carton, one carton. And it is celebrated, and the photos are all over. It is not a laughing matter. It is something that we really must be sad about. That how are we doing things? If you think that the health budget for Nairobi of 2 billion caters for the 5 million residents of Nairobi, it's crazy. We cannot do business like that. And that is why I'm telling you one thing that I've said severally. The tone at the top is what is eating us. The tone at the top. Was the ball dropped from the top? The tone at the top. Was the ball dropped from the top? Yes, the top isn't very firm. The top is not giving the right bearing. The talk is just speaking. The top is just talk show. The talk is is just from promise to promise. The top is just dodging issues. So everybody acquires that attitude. I will tell you an example of when Kibaki came in as a president. The tone at the top. Let me tell you, corruption reduced by half. The tone at the top, because you already know that the person at the top, how they perceive things, how they do things, their record, and how they speak about some of these things. Let's take a break on the top. Let's take a break on that note. It's 8:30 on the nose. Janet Okoh is our guest this hour, and we're looking at certain things and asking, where did we drop the ball? Conversations are being had in the country at the moment in terms of what's going to happen with health workers, what's going to happen with the health situation in the country over the coming days. CS Nahumicha says that this week, yesterday, even this thing will be over. Will it? That's the question. We'll come back after this and look at what's happening with matters education. It's 29 minutes to 9.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's...
Conditions in Nairobi will see highs of 25, and at 17 it's sunny in Nyeri, going to highs of 26. 19 and sunny, 13 and sunny, going to highs of 26 in Eldoret. And at 25 it's cloudy in Mombasa with highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 30 in a cloudy Malindi at 25. 19 and sunny conditions in Kisumu with highs of 30, while in Kakamega at 17. 17. We'll see highs of 29. Kampala this morning is sunny at 22 with highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 27 in a mostly cloudy Dar es Salaam, currently at 24. 10 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg with highs of 19, while Mogadishu is sunny at 29. We'll see highs of 34. It's 16 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 26, while Lagos is clear at 27. It'll go to highs of 34, and we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 24. So still busy certain parts here and there on the Thika Superhighway coming through Survey. That's probably the busiest that we'll see today. On Uhuru Highway, just as you get past that Bunyala Road roundabout area, then it goes on towards Haile Selassie. There's some busyness there, and that's inbound to the city. Also, as you're coming off of the Eastern Bypass inbound, and actually also outbound, coming from North Airport Road going towards Outer Ring, there's some traffic there. And it's then busy coming off Manyanja Road going towards Jogoo Road and then out towards Landis. You'll see some bumper-to-bumper action there, but traffic hour is not a painful thing this morning. We can get through it. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Conversation this morning about where did the ball get dropped, and the tone at the top is what Janet Okoh, our guest for this hour, is talking about, saying what's the tone at the top. Education is many have called a silent disaster right now at the moment. We've not gotten to the point whereby we have teachers on the streets or anything like that, but many could say that there is a big problem with this as well. We're going back to school in about 3 weeks, some 2 weeks, some 3, and we left last term with maybe some capitation having been paid, some. And we had a previous conversation where the CS told us that 5,000 shillings that they had taken off capitation would be returned sometime this year. I mean, where are we going? The front page of the Standard today tells us about how this payment of the e-citizen has been refused by members of parliament towards the 22222 number, saying that it would disrupt school finances, which already are in a mess because of the lack of capitation being sent in a good time. Who dropped the ball here? What's the tone at the top for education?
I have no beef, and I am refusing to have a conversation with the Cabinet Secretary Education. Tone at the top. That guy has no ability to release capitation to schools. There is only one man who does not believe in free education in this country, and that person is the president of this country. If you can imagine, he does not believe in free education. He does not believe. I have evidence that one day his own PS, Belio Kipsang, said that they are rethinking the issue of free education. And he actually confirmed to us that they are going to be reducing the amount of capitation that they send to schools, which they actually did. That in itself tells you about people that do not believe in free education. And I want to take a minute to tell them what we mean by free and compulsory education. That it is not anything that anybody, including a head of state, can take away from any child, because it is given to every child of this country by our constitution under Article 53, the Bill of Rights. It is the right of every child to enjoy free and compulsory education. It is not something that a cocoon of people sat down somewhere and agreed. It is out of the declaration of the world declared all the way from 1990 when people went to Jomti and Thailand. And people agreed that the biggest barrier to education for any child is levies. And from 1990 coming all the way to where we are now, countries have worked towards eliminating levies. Every country, it is only Kenya that is working backwards. And that is why I'm telling you about the tone at the top. If you have somebody that believes that all these billions that go towards education Do not come back because you know, of course, this money that is going to children don't have kickbacks. There are no kickbacks for 268 billion. There are no kickbacks. Makes it very unattractive to fund education. But I want to tell the president today that this is the biggest mistake that his government is committing. You found capitation grant per child being 22,000 per child, and it was not even sufficient. It wasn't sufficient. You cannot take a shilling out of that money and was so without rationale. Had rationalize. Come with reason and put reason on the table. That no, because of these efficiencies that we have now introduced, we are making savings here and there. But you cannot find the situation as bad as it is. Then you go ahead and withhold some monies and take them to places where you think is more strategic. And then you don't even exercise fidelity in sending the little that is left. No. And that is why I'm telling you that we have people that don't believe in the Constitution. It is everything about the Constitution. I see people canvassing very funny ideas that parents must also pay little. This is not a conversation that we want to have based on any manifesto of any political party. We are refusing to have that conversation.
Janet, it's not an idea. There are parents who are paying the extra because it does not come from capitation. It's not an idea. It's not a fantasy. It's a reality. It's happening today.
And let me tell you, you see, even with the 22,000 capitation grant, the 22,000, parents would still pay because 22,000 is not sufficient. Parents would still pay. So reducing that is actually making the problem worse. And this is what the heads of schools have done. Because I saw the other time, the government of Kenya inciting parents against their principals. If the government has not sent money to schools, principals must charge money because your child has to eat. The school has to go on, processes must run, principals must charge money. And this is why we are saying we are now experiencing the privatization of education that is championed by government. What kind of a government is that champions the privatization? What kind of a government would issue a pay bill number? What kind of a government would actually consciously issue a pay bill number that parents pay through this? What admission are you making? Why isn't that government impeached in the first place? It does not believe in the Constitution, that the Constitution that you swore to defend, that I shall give and ensure that I give every child of this country compulsory, free, basic education. We are not telling you to give everybody university education. That is not what the Constitution says. The Constitution is telling you, from 0 to 18 years, can your government ensure that you support free and compulsory education? Clearly, and giving us evidence, we have a government that is telling parents, pay, using this number. What kind of a government is that?
Let me ask this question. When you say that this is a government that is clearly and visibly privatizing education, is there evidence to support that view?
Yes, there is evidence. Government has released a pay bill number. To pay for what? To pay for what service? To pay for what service? It has released a pay bill number that parents pay using this number.
The rationale was that school fees be paid to that pay bill number because what they wanted to do was make sure one of two things. Number one, that this extra charging from certain schools did not come into play, that we know what school fees are supposed to be. It would come, and as you pay, it goes directly to that school, and then at the same time, so they could regularize all these payments and there would not be these extras.
You know, the problem is we are having a busybody government. A busybody is someone who fixes what is already working, and they clearly ignore what is not working, which they should be fixing. The moment you release a pay bill number to national schools, because it was not even released to every school.
No.
The government first said to national schools. Let me ask you, this is a big joke. Is the government thinking that they can manage Mangu High School better than the parents of that school? Can you imagine that government is saying your own money, the 22,000 that you're supposed to be sending to every child in that school, you're not sending. And you're not addressing that. You have now come to start to telling parents who are infidelity, doing their job, which it's actually your job. They're doing your job. And they have arranged themselves into committees. They have arranged themselves in BOMs. Very beautiful. I had my daughter in Alliance. And the kind of BOM that we are speaking about there, we're speaking about engineers. We're speaking about doctors. We're speaking about... And then you see a government coming to tell you that we want to panga the school fees that we are paying. These are busy bodies who want to fix what is working, and they have not been able to fix what is not working. Fix your capitation grant. Show us, what are your audit? Let me ask you, can the government of Kenya today produce one audit for one school? They don't have. Then they're asking parents who run their accounts very well, complete with audit reports. There is no complaint. Children have not complained that there is one day we went without bread. You want to give government money, and those children, they will drink porridge because government will have already squandered the parents' money.
I want to look at that capitation grant because it's a pain point for me. I do not understand. I've asked this question a number of times. This money that goes into capitation is budgeted for. It takes the lion's share of the education budget. And so when a budget is presented, the education budget takes up almost a third of the national budget, right?
26% thereabout,
almost
the national budget.
Exactly. So capitation now takes up a major percent of that budget now that we're talking about, of the 600 odd billion. When money should be released to schools, because essentially you're saying wherever you get the money from, we're saying that as the term starts, you're sending about 40% in the first term, you're sending about another 30%,
50%,
50%,
and then 30%, and then 20%.
Exactly. First, second, third. Thank you. And then you don't do that.
Yes.
Why? What's the problem? Where is this money going? I would really want to understand, where is the money going? The PS said very clearly to us that don't even start making noise, because this money that we're actually sending is not all these things you want to pay, buy a bus, etc., etc. It is tuition money. That's what he said. This is tuition money. Tuition and tuition related expenses money. But still, if it does not go to schools, and we're looking at 54 billion out over the last 5 years, where does it go?
You know, there's something I don't understand. Perhaps you'll help me understand. This 26% of our national budget, what is it supposed to pay for?
For education?
Yes. What are the items that are supposed to consume this 26%?
The 26% of the national budget is the entire budget that goes to all education functions, including payment, including what goes to TSC, including what goes to payment of capitation grants, running within administrative costs within the Ministry of Education, and all that.
If we were to compute the amount, what is 26% of the budget that we have for this year?
It's almost 700 billion.
700 billion.
Almost. It gets there.
So, are we saying that when we look around, we can see evidence that 700 billion shillings has been spent in our public schools? Is it?
We can do that. We can do that in isolation. There are functions that are running so well.
Yes.
Like the Teacher Service Commission.
Yes.
You know, we have not had teachers going without pay.
Teachers get paid.
That is running so well. Now let's come to the Ministry of Education, that now runs everything together with the SAGAs,
everything else,
autonomous government agencies within that. So because of how government operates it's closed. You know, you're not able to know details. I don't know how in Africa we will be able to really open up government to scrutiny. But now the only thing that is letting us in, we are knowing about capitation grants because we are parents in schools. And so when you go to schools and the head teacher tells you that this year, for example, and it's not like we are speaking without evidence, we have the evidence. We have concluded the first term.
Yes.
So this is what happened with the first term. For the first term, schools are supposed to receive 50% of the capitation per year, what they're supposed to receive. I do not know now. I used to know during the last regime that we were doing 22,000 Kenya shillings per child.
Yes.
Right now, I do not know whether it is 16,000, whether it is 12,000, whether it is 10. Nobody knows how much exactly this government is spending per child. Nobody knows. Now, they were supposed to receive 50% of whatever it is. They only received 25,000. And ran with the 25,000, there was a lot of strain, and then there was a lot of complaints and a lot of uproar. And then this is what your intelligent government did, because it's one government that manages you at every... towards the end of the term, they sent 25,000. The balance of 25,000 that they were supposed to have sent initially. So this is what will happen. At second term, they're not going to be sending anything because they will send you, but we sent you money when schools were closing. So essentially, you did not do anything with that money. Imagine,
and that money
was supposed
it was intended for that term which has ended.
That term which has ended. So they will run with that narrative until towards the end of second term. Meanwhile, schools have sorted themselves. They have asked, they have charged.
They've told the parents.
They have charged parents to bring money. So towards the second term, they will release, something little that will now run them throughout. And for the year, this government will not have sent 40% of what they're supposed to send to schools. Teachers cannot ask anything. Teachers cannot talk because they are employees of that particular government. So really, the government gets away.
Let's give you some numbers. I mean, we saw some of these numbers last week. Let's just look at last year. Of the 11,000 that were supposed to be sent in the first term, because remember we split, right? So we're looking at 50, 30, 20. Of the 11,000 that was sent, that was supposed to be sent, only 6,709 was sent. In second term, of the 6,000 that were supposed to be sent, only 2,524 was sent. Of the 4,000 then that was supposed to be sent in third term, only 1,122 was sent. So if you look at the global figure of 17,000, only 10,355 was sent. So now when you want to take that and extrapolate, that is when you're going to have a big figure of a deficit of 38 billion shillings that was not released for capitation in the year ended. That's what we're talking about.
So, and that's why I keep saying, in civilized societies, somebody should be saying that we did not send. We sent a common 10,000 per child. I like speaking per child. We sent a common 10,100. We were supposed to send 17,000. Do you believe there's somebody in this country who owes us an accountability statement that we did not send 7,000 because of A, B, C, and D? Now, there is another level of accountability. The functions that were supposed to have been performed by the 7,000 that we did not send, we acknowledge that it is debt, or we even acknowledge that it is a contribution of parents. That is what civilized societies do. But this is what conmen do. Conmen don't bother about that. They will stand somewhere and tell her, we have released 30 billion to schools. It is not okay. It is not okay, good people. It is not okay. And when we think that this sort of dodging and can help anybody, we are actually killing children. I know there has never been the kind of school dropout that there is in Nairobi today, right from primary school to secondary school, because I can bet you, as we open schools for second term, their teachers are not going to be letting anybody with fee balance.
Oh, 100%.
They're not going to be letting anybody with fee balance to enter school.
No, Janet. They did not let anybody with a fee balance of the first term to come back at half term of the first term.
You see that?
Half term of the first term, students with fee balances were not allowed to return without the presence of their parents. So what they're requesting, or rather demanding that should happen now, is that as you're returning for the second term, you must come with your fees having been paid.
Not a parent. This time you come with money. Don't come with muzazi.
If you have not paid, come with the payment as you are coming to school.
Yes.
It's not a question of can we, shall we.
Do you agree with me that this government is supporting the privatization of education? Since when did parents, free secondary education is a 15-year-old, is an adolescent program. So you cannot now come in and wreck it and look at us in the face and expect that we are not going to be seeing the liar that you are. No. We shall call you out. We shall tell us, own up that no, I am not funding free education. But don't pretend like you're funding and you're not. We shall tell you you're not.
Remember, one of the things that happened when Kibaki enshrined this free education system, enrollment rose.
1 million children came back.
Yes,
to school.
yes. And the reason why you could say it worked is because they stayed in school.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you have a situation where the numbers are dropping, what does it tell you? The situation that enabled them to actually be in school no longer exists. The very thing that kept them out of school was money to pay for that education. The free education cured that. So now that there's a demand for payment, again, we have a situation where very many of those parents will not have the money to pay.
And at higher levels, you know, this situation is worst, especially at day schools. Because these schools are the ones that really take the destitute, you know, the poorest of the poor.
And they're the ones which take the largest number of learners.
The largest number of learners.
Yes.
And now the situation, even when you visit schools like Mangu, the Muranga Highs, they will tell you, we are no longer doing things like we used to do. Schools can no longer print their books. You know, you remember the way we had books printed
with the school names.
And so they're no longer doing that. Parents are coming in with exercise books. So
you're actually required as a parent.
Yes, to do that. If Kenyans can actually not see this kind of change, and that is why I said that a few weeks ago we have seen the ruling political party calling out for elections and so on and so forth. And I'm asking, you citizens of this country that shall queue, what ideologies of that political party are you supporting? Not to wonder that you shall go queuing on Monday to vote for that political party, and you have left your child at home. They have not gone to school because that particular ruling political party has not and does not believe in the right to free education. It does not believe in universal health coverage. It doesn't believe in that. It doesn't believe in constitutionalism. So what exactly? Because we are, you know, the problem is that even our economics is dictated by the kind of political leaders that we have. That's the saddest bit about it. So we have to really make decisions about the leadership that we want. And we have seen leadership is discipline. Leadership is what you believe in. Leadership is evidence of who you have been over time. That is why we have CVs. You know a CV. A CV is when I meet you today, I don't know you, but when I dig through your pages, I'm able to know. Okay, you worked here for this particular time, and then these are some of the things that you did. Yeah, I can believe that you're this one committed person. I believe in your integrity. You know, you look like you have character. You know, you look like Kenyans really. We must begin believing in those things. And when you see that people like the US believe and they hold you dear, there's some things that have happened with some leaders, and I think if that was a particular leader in the US, for example, they would resign the following morning. But what do we believe in as a people? We are as bad as our leaders, because it is us that will queue. It is us that will disregard. We are corrupt. It is us that will disregard that you don't believe in this, but because you're giving me 1,000 shillings, I'm happy to trade. I'm happy to trade important things such as deciding who will be the chief executive of our county. The other day, I was seeing a photo doing round of the governor of Nairobi. I have nothing against him. But you cannot have a medical crisis like the one we have here. You cannot have floods ravaging the city, and you're dancing in some sand dunes in Dubai. No problem dancing. But does it send the right message of you, of the people that elected you? Do you think that this message and what is happening at the background really both resonate? Tells us about your character, tells us about your personality.
The question here, Janet, is
yes.
You actually think they care?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying about their character.
You see, there's a presumption that when people are in these political positions, note, I've left the word leadership. Positions. That they actually understand that they are accountable to the people who elected them, and that they're actually supposed to ensure that they work day and night to ensure that the citizenry have the provision of services that is actually due to them. I don't think they give a flying hoot about these things.
You know, we have evidence in this country. We have evidence that those of us that lived during Moi regime,
yes,
and so literally everything fell. I mean, you know, everything fell off. There was no single parastatal that even had a placard saying that, you know, everything fell off. And then came one gentleman in the name of Mwai Kibaki. The kind of work that he did for this country inspires confidence that surely there can be a political leader. We can one day have one person that can pick things from where they were without even explaining. That, you know, for 24 years, we found everything having fallen off, so we have not performed because 24 years,
that history, not
he
even once.
Never, not even once did Moi ever feature in Kibaki's lips.
Nope.
Not even withstanding the fact that his own background was that they were on and off with Moi. In terms of, you cannot really say that Kibaki was on the table during a lot of Moi's decision making, especially during his later years, the final years of Moi. We cannot have somebody who cannot take responsibility for anything.
For the now.
Anything, including when we all know so well where he sat during that regime. We are not doing well as a country, for sure, good people. We cannot. And we cannot keep giving every small example. How would you explain that a fake fertilizer can be bearing the logo of a national organization? I would be happy if it was a River Road thing. NCPB. This is what I told you. The audacity tells you something about the tone at the top.
At the top. Wrapping it up, Janet, I mean, I don't think we can put a wrap around this conversation. I think there are very many things that continually need to be talked about. My personal opinion is that having these conversations puts these issues front and center.
Sure.
It puts them front and center, and that's why it's important to continue talking about them, because one of two things can happen. One, something is done. Number two, somebody else continues talking about it. Very quickly as we wrap up, though, where should we? Where can we go with what we are faced with today? Where can we actually go?
I think revolutionaries should now gather. We must rescue this country. We cannot continue knocking the doors of cabinet secretaries because we know that there is one person that is making them continue being in office. There is only one person who knows why he has put that kind of people in the places that he has put them. It is time that people told the president of this country in no uncertain terms that really this is our country. Even if you do not believe in some of these things that we are saying, we already know that there is a certain way of doing things. You cannot say that you will deal firmly with corrupt individuals, but we have not seen you doing anything. We have refused any more promises coming from your lips. We cannot believe you is a message that people are telling their president. Stop telling us the economy is taking shape. We want to see our children in school. We want to see our mothers, we want to see our relatives being treated when they go to hospitals. That is what we want to see. We do not want to hear any more word from you telling us that the economy is taking shape. We want to experience it. We want to see it.
Janet Okoh, thank you very much for being our guest this hour. The conversations absolutely must continue until we talk again the next time. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto is today expected to officially close the 3-day National Wage Bill Conference. The conference, which started earlier this week, focuses on the wage bill in the public sector as well as methods to control the burden and avoid misuse of public resources. In the conference, the Office of the Controller of Budget and the Auditor General criticized the county governments for making payments without following proper procedure, employing excess staff, as well as making payments without having the requisite documents required by law. That's contributed to misuse of public funds. Kitui County is leading 10 counties with a heavy wage bill burden of up to 75%, funds that should have been used on various development projects.
75% of all your money going to personnel emoluments leaves you with only 25% for the rest of the recurrent and the development.
Issues of fictitious employees on payroll leading to salaries being siphoned off. You pay, but if we trace that money, it goes to pay other people's.
However, Council of Governors has asked SRC to design a system that will be used to reward them either by promoting them or increasing the salaries of employees instead of the county doing so without any criteria or formula. Governors Muthomi Njuki of Tharaka Nithi and his counterpart of Homa Bay, Gladys Wanga, both used the opportunity to ask the Ministry of Finance, that is Treasury, to disburse funds to the counties on time to increase productivity.
As a country, we need to have a policy that will ensure that we remunerate the one resource that controls the other resource before we remunerate the others.
First partnership really is with the National Treasury to see that we can actually have, as per the law, on 15th of every month, have the disbursement of the funds.
Meanwhile, the government has indefinitely suspended reviewing of salaries of public officials over a cash crisis. Head of Public Service Felix Koskei was speaking at the third National Wage Bill Conference that will be closed today by the President.
Any negotiation for improved salaries, as I have said, wages and allowances must be cognizant of economic growth projections and trends. And I repeat, we cannot have systems where employers take action on terms and conditions of employment without having that conversation with those charged with revenue generation and collection. It requires a holistic approach towards public service reforms. Regrettably, this has not been fully achieved, and several institutions continue to issue guidelines and to negotiate CPAs without adequate involvement and consultation.
Koskei urged all public institutions to join government efforts in attaining the required wage bill to revenue ratio.
I believe by now all public institutions, both at national and county governments, have received a recent directive issued by a Secretary of the President requiring you to develop strategies and actions and action plans to achieve a wage bill ratio of 35% by the year 2028 as directed by the summit.
A section of women MPs have demanded the sacking of Health CS Susan Nakuru over her handling of the medical crisis occasioned by the health worker strike. They are also unhappy about the discontinuation of the Linda Mama program that was paying delivery or maternity fees for women from humble backgrounds. Now, the MPs say mortality rates are likely to go up. Led by Githunguri MP Gathoni Mushomba and her Suba North counterpart Milio Diambo, the MPs say Nakuru should vacate office because she has failed in her duties. Meanwhile, Nakuru has appealed to the striking doctors to instead join the government in negotiations in order to find a lasting solution to the medical crisis. Speaking in Kajiado County during the commissioning of a mental hospital, she said the government has extended an olive branch to the doctors, urging the medics to reciprocate. Now, Denmark's historic old stock exchange building in the center of Copenhagen was engulfed in fire. Now, everyone inside the building was able to leave as people rushed to rescue some of its historic paintings. The country's culture ministry said 400 years of Danish cultural heritage had gone up in flames. The building dates back to 1625. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto. Good morning.
Okay, a few minutes after 9 o'clock now, and traffic in the city here and there. We're still in traffic hour, looking at some things going on the Thika Superhighway this morning. That hold up just at the Pangani Tunnel is going to continue for a minute, and as we get through that, you should be fine then getting into the CBD. Are you coming off of Limuru Road up there, coming in from Thigiri Ridge out then towards Limuru Road? I think we're okay. Uhuru Highway is where it's going to take the most of it this morning, and also looking at Jogo Road getting towards Landis, that's where we'll see most of the busyness happening. Ngong Road has had no traffic for the last couple of days. Let's just keep it that way. And coming off the Southern Bypass, then going out towards the Langata interchange there, Langata Road, then going out towards Kikuyu, Ngong Road, all of that looks good. We'll come out of traffic hour in no time. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your
7
day.
minutes after 9 o'clock into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Wednesday, the 17th of April. And one has got to ask you, what is your plan? When you've come up until the age that you are at right now, or if you've just started off, or if you're in the middle of it all and you're saying, okay, so what am I really going to do? I have an idea of what I want to do, but who's going to help me activate it? Well, the folks at ICEA Lion are saying, it's us. We are the ones. We are here. All you need to do is come and tell us, this is what I want to do. I'm not quite sure how to do it. I have a few coins here and there. How about we put this plan into action? And then you say, okay, this is what actually I need you to do for me. So come together, put your plan into action, and let's go. ICEA Lion. So it's plan@icealion.co.ke. Send them an email today. Book an appointment. Go down and get onto your plan. Or get onto the website. Find out what they're all about before you have a conversation with them. So it's plan.icealion.co.ke or plan@icealion.co.ke. All right, we're getting into a conversation of where are we going? If you look at the trends of our conversation this morning, certain things have been happening in certain ways. And many are crying, many are not so happy, many are saying, well, look, things are looking up. Well, let's get a few more opinions and let's have a conversation about where it ought to go. And a friend of ours is in the hot seat this morning. Jeremiah Kioni is the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, and he's looking resplendent in red. Jeremiah, good morning.
Red always in Jubilee. Morning to you.
Oh, I like the hat.
Yeah, thank you. Asante sana.
How have you been?
Well, okay. Looking for fertilizer.
I have to warn you. I have to warn you. I'm not sure that if you split open a fertilizer bag, that what you would find inside would be fertilizer.
I was busy looking for fertilizer to plant, like every other Kenyan.
Yeah.
So struggling and hoping to make sense of many things.
Well,
yes.
Let's see.
And that's why I'm happy to come and hear the day's proverb.
You have done it just right, because the day's proverb is here.
Okay.
Our proverbs for this week come from the Republic of, people call it Cape Verde. I prefer to call it Cape Verde. Yes.
Cape Verde.
Well, yes.
Okay.
In Portuguese, it's Cabo Verde. Okay.
All right.
The proverb, rats don't dance in the cat's doorway.
Yes, a mistake we committed.
Why do you say that?
A mistake we committed. Yes. And especially in Mount Kenya. We went dancing in the cat's doorway, and now kimeturamba. like they say, kimeturamba. Kumenyitana.
Are you saying that the situation that the
you have to avoid, you have to avoid the cat all the time.
But let me tell you, at the time that people were dancing, as you say, metaphorically in front of the cat's doorway, did they know it was a cat's doorway? And did they know that they were also rats?
I think there was the belief that one, you are not the rat. And we kept complaining and saying, be very careful. And again, the cat had a lot of water on itself, so it may have looked like the rat also. Yes. You know, we say that the lion ikinyeshewa, lakini saa hii paka ilikuwa imemwagilia maji, ilikuwa inakaa kama, like kana panya yenyewe. And that is where we are, and it is actually a very sad situation.
So
extremely sad.
So things sometimes would appear to look a certain way, but they are not.
Yes.
Forcing you to make a decision sometimes. And what you're saying is that is what the country looks like today.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we are. And not by accident, but because somebody planned it that way.
Okay, SJ, I'm not even going to ask you to look into crystal ball, because crystal ball would assume that then you're looking at something that would be coming into the future. I'll give you a little bit of a story. Those who believe in traditional medicine, they would sometimes blow into the dust on the ground, and whatever else, concoctions that they will put together, they would then be able to see the real situation in the earth. That's what they would say, that the earth has a way of giving the real situation. And I guess that's where these things that we say today, things on the ground, are actually very, very different, and that it's the things on the ground that are the reality, and that's what these traditional healers, whatever you want to call them, they would go to the earth and they would mix whatever they would mix on the ground, and it would be the ground that would show them exactly what is happening. Then they would now be able to go to CT and say, look, the ground has told me that this is what is happening, and then this is what you ought to do, right? And it never made sense to me until now. I started to hear growing up, then I realized, okay, that's exactly what they're doing. So now, SG, as you look at the ground, and as possible as it would be for you to be apolitical, what is it? What's going on right now?
I think one of the other things is that on top, even as we get to the gist of this discussion, you must always avoid, getting your eyes off the ball. Another short story of the person I'm named after, my grandfather, would, out of about very many people who were born, he's like the only one who seemed to have survived those days. And they kept consulting the witch doctor. And every time a child would die, they would go to a witch doctor. So he then, and this is a story he told us, he then decided to ensure that he keeps his eyes on the witch doctor. And all through where he started to the end, and he keep jumping all over, blah, 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 and he realized that the guy picked some bones from one corner, plays around, then plants them at another corner. Then he will say, the answer is in that corner. So out of that, then he said, there must be a better way of looking at things. It's actually his story. That is what influenced him to now thinking about education and Christianity. And at a place called Karunaine he is, and that place called the Hororo, he is among the very first people who took on education and took on Christianity, started educating girls, and many things that we are proud of today. Getting, if your eyes leave the ball, you get where we are today. As a country, we let our eyes go wandering to other places, and we missed the steps that were being done by some characters who actually qualify for witch doctors. Where the things that we are going through today are very strange things. I will need to check this after I leave this place, but the information I get on the fertilizer, which I talked about, is that the first thing that we did after 2022 elections was when some people had control and could give instructions and directives. The first thing we did is that we seem to have lowered the quality, the standard of the quality of the fertilizer that comes into the country. During Kibaki's and Uhuru's time, there was a ban on importation of fertilizer from Morocco because it did not meet the standard that we wanted as a country. I am told, and I'll check this fact, that is one of the things that was quickly adjusted. So we lowered the standards, our standards, to accommodate the Moroccan fertilizer, which leaves our soils very acidic after you have used it. We've gone even a step further, and now we are using poop from several animals and mixing it to now become the Kenyan kind of fertilizer. And it is so bad. I was in Nyahururu, and for the first time in my life in Nyahururu, I have never seen Kenyans queuing at KFA for fertilizer, queuing for the seed maize. It's not available. The seeds are not available for planting.
They're not available.
They're not available. And rains come and go. So you must plant when the rains have come. So that kind of frustration is, we are in all those kind of difficulties. Look at it now. We talked about the NHIF when I was here. We talked about a corrupting health sector. Today, I don't know which are the hospitals that you can present your NHIF card. We've been told that we are migrating from one system to another. But you need, I don't know whether a grace period or whatever it is they are calling it. How are Kenyans surviving. How did they expect Kenyans to go through with the medical issues?
They're not surviving at all.
Not at all. I have a message from one of the principals from Nyandarua who says we now need to fundraise, raise some 2 million shillings because Edu Afia, which was available for our children,
it's not working.
It's not working. It's not there anymore. So we are again back to those harambes.
Yes.
We are back to those populist things because since you can go to very many harambes, then you become the leader and you are the one who can say. So we missed it by just getting our eyes off the ball. And the witchcraft fellas were all over here jumping, giving us funny things. Now they are in control. And I can tell you, like Muruka would say, we really are in the hands of gangsters. I tell you, and I have no reason to think otherwise. And it is for that reason that we must organize ourselves differently if we want to achieve different results come the next opportunity that will be available to choose leaders.
How does one know who will actually do the right thing? This is interesting, Jeremiah, because on Monday, and this is played in my mind very clearly, and as we do here, we're trying to have these conversations around things that make sense. We don't want to be aspirational. We want to be present. We don't want to only be idealistic. We want to be real. And we asked ourselves and we said, how then do we make sure that we are involved in participatory governance, in getting it right? That it is not that anybody who might see you today says, well, Kioni is speaking as somebody who maybe wanted to be in government. He's speaking that way because he's not. Would he be singing the same song if he was on the other side? How?
One is that as a country, I think we now have tried many things and we know what works, what cannot work. We have seen leaders and we have heard them. You have an idea of what an individual stands for. And it is very important for people not to avoid history. Remember, when we were doing the campaigns, the former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, would likes talking about history, where you are coming from and how we are likely to move forward. And one thing that we also missed about the KK and the Uda Brigade, they were very averse to history. You try and talk about history. Dr. William Samoei Ruto himself was saying, wachaneni na hii maneno ya historia, hii mambo ya wazee na waganga, dismissive. If you don't get to know a little bit about your history, you are likely to make mistakes that were made by others, and you don't run from those mistakes, which is one of the biggest mistakes that we did. We were warned. And there are many things that have been tried before, and we seem to be trying them again. If you look at today, we were told by those who were there that subsidies don't work. It is the wrong thing to do. Let the market forces work. Petrol prices went up to 217, 220. Then you introduce subsidies through another baptism name. We are now getting back to 190, 100 and something. And you now want Kenyans to come and clap for you because you have removed what you actually added. And if we do not clap, we are not being appreciative. We told you, give us time so that we can fix. So you first of all make things worse. Then do the same interventions that were done for things to improve. And you can actually see that, the dollar was at 119. Mess around with the dollar, it goes to 163. Make interventions, we are now back to 120. You want us to clap for you. But you corrupt people's businesses, then you start trying to remove the taxes. The question that you ask yourself, and this is the thing, is which Kenyans is better off today than he was 2 years ago before elections? And the answer is, we are done. And I want to tell you something that I was out in the countryside for the last 7 days, non-stop. Something that I have not done in the last 2 years. And young people, I asked one young man, where were you 2013? He told me I was in PP2. PP2.
Yes.
Wow. He is voting next time. And this is, sitaki kujua mengi. But there are things that were happening when I was in school. My siblings are not enjoying them now. I am here doing this casual work because I need to help my brother and sister, whatever. I hear many of the messages have been created in the last 2 years. Wanasema, tunagojea hawa tutafukuza. Using their words. Something that is very, tutawafukuza na panga. Things have gotten to that level. So for us to ensure that we don't get to commit those mistakes, it's very important for always for us to know our history and to understand. If you look at the track record of the people, you cannot elect a person into an office, and especially those decision-making positions, without a track record. I see the members of parliament here are vetting those who are going to represent us outside, like our envoys.
Yes.
What are they doing? They want to know the track record of an individual. I have no faith in what they are doing. Not that, they are the same ones who told us that they are not going to tax our avocados. And now they are saying the finance bill was too big like the Bible, so they never got to read out the whole of it. So you have, again, the same thing. You have seen how they have behaved in the last 1 or 2 years. I have no reason to believe that they are going to change in the coming 1 or 2 years. It is a done deal. We must organize ourselves differently.
So what are you saying?
Track record.
Okay.
The people who are in power.
Yeah.
We talked about them. Let me tell you, the same young parents are saying, I'm talking of what they were telling me last week. Mheshimiwa ulituambia. So we are not blaming you. Ulituambia ya kwamba kitaturamba. We thought it was out of hate for somebody. We have seen it. The track record of a leader is very, very important.
So are you saying that for the next however long that Kenyans are resigned to this fate of the things that are going
for the coming 3 years?
We can't deny a number of things. We can't deny that in certain sectors that, there's a problem. Okay? And again, there are things that are currently hitting us in the face, that whether you will look at the trimmings of agriculture and whether they will actually help with the fertilizer scandal that we see, whether we look at the health sector and then it falling to its knees with the strikes that we are seeing that are currently on, the education sector, infrastructure, we could go on and on. But then there's also the other side that we can't deny that, well, at least at some point something is being done. But are you saying that we are resigned, or that Kenya is resigned to this fate where there's always something going wrong at any given time for the next however many years of the administration?
I will be very interested and happy to be given examples of what is going on right or what is being done anywhere in any sector, other than ensuring that the mess you introduced in the last 2 years is not the mess you are cleaning up. I see very well lit studio, one of the best lit studios that we have. Look at it. The power bill was pushed up by 67.7% in the last 2 years. The last couple of months, it's been brought down by 13.7%. Is that what you want me to clap for? You mess us up, and then when you try to go back to some normalcy, you want to tell me that there is any improvement that is being done? Zero. The number of businesses that have been closed, and especially within Mount Kenya region, the number of companies that are being wound up, the number of children who are not able to go to school, the number of people we have lost in this country because of mismanagement of the health sector, is enough to tell you that do not expect for anything else. A professor recently told me, a professor from Kimathi University told me, define a very small area, operate within that area for the coming 3 years. Do not try to overstretch yourself. Don't expect anything for the coming 3 years. And then let us all work together to ensure that we get ourselves from this mess of governance. That is why you'll find some of us 17, 18, 20 parties which have leadership from Mount Kenya region. They are national parties, but the leadership is from Mount Kenya region. We came together and we have decided to get ourselves together so that we can give people from Mount Kenya region an opportunity to come to what we are calling the Muru 3 and think ahead of how do we handle ourselves when another opportunity is given to us to pick leaders.
For what purpose?
When another opportunity is given to us to determine how do we manage our political affairs, economic affairs, our social affairs, because that is what elections is all about.
But again,
it is for the purposes of ensuring that we do not commit the mistakes that we have already committed.
So are we resigned to this faith? Are we resigned to this fate right now where we are seeing things happening in the way we are? Or is there an element of accountability that the people of Kenya can now say, okay, you know what? Things are not going as you said they would. As we then are given the right by the Constitution to say, look, hold on a minute, subservient to us, the sovereign, right? And they're not going well. We're demanding that they go right. Are you saying that we're resigned to this fate until new people come in?
I'm in support of a team of or a group of NGOs that have come together to try and see whether they can do something to Article 1, 2, 3 of the Constitution. And that is looking at the 3 articles through a court process to see whether we can even impeach those in power from the public, not from Parliament, because Parliament is already gone. It's not with us.
Okay, I want us to take a break. Please, let's take a break and come back. Then I hope you will answer that question, because I really want to hear whether we are resigned to this fate.
Yes.
It's 29 past 9 o'clock. We'll take a break. We'll be right back after this.
I've got a plan that makes me even more relaxed than a Buddhist monk in a luxury spa.
ICEA Lion has a plan for everyone. Talk to us today for a plan that's right for you. Or visit icealion.co.ke. ICEA Lion, what's your plan?
Attention to all the fun-loving children out there. It's time for the Club Kiboko Family Fun Day. This year, it is bigger, better, and we have lined up a day out for the whole family where kids can run around while parents get to relive fun childhood memories all over again. From great entertainment, food and games ranging from quad biking, virtual reality, PlayStation competitions, trampolines, horse riding, and more, you better be ready. And for the parents, we haven't left out that little child in you too. You're in for fun rounds of kati, blada, bano, rounders, karaoke, and even our very own cooking competition. So bring your kids and join in on the fun too at the Ulinzi Sports Complex on Saturday, 27th of April. Head over to tickethub.co.ke or ticketsasa.com today and purchase your ticket at 500 shillings for kids and 300 shillings for adults. Come let loose and have the time of your lives at the Club Kiboko Family Fun Day.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yep.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying...
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Our conversation for this hour, for the next 28 minutes, is with Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, and we're looking at the situation on the ground, really, to see what is the ground saying. And from what you've said, you said, okay, show me. I was looking, say, show me one thing that's actually going right. But I'm asking, are we resigned to the fate of what's happening at the moment? Or are we saying that, until a new crop of leadership comes in, is when we will see any kind of change?
When you talk to investors, business people, and they tell you, please make sure you do not borrow. Don't try to put up a new building. Hold your horses. And that's the discussion in Mount Kenya. Hold your horses. Don't make any mistake of stepping outside an area that you can control. Is that Kenyans have given up on anything positive coming from the people in power in the manner of how can they improve their livelihoods. Things have gotten worse. Vijana wanasema ni kubaya. That's the word, ni kubaya. So in terms of trying to improve we can only expect them to try and clear some of the messes that they have put us in. In 10 months, we've borrowed 4.2 trillion shillings. In 10 years, we borrowed 10.6 trillion shillings. 4 months, 4.2 trillion shillings. 10 years, 10.6 trillion shillings. For the 4.2 trillion shillings, not a single project can be seen being implemented. Within the last 10 years, Kenya was like a construction site with those 10.6 trillion shillings. What we expected the next regime or the next government to do was to build on the infrastructure that had been put together by the Jubilee government. What are we seeing? Just abandonment, stagnation, a lot of money, and a lot of stealing of government resources. Kenyans have given up on these people. When I was here before, I told you that you will be dreaming to think that we are going to have UDA 2022. What you are seeing in Muranga is nothing to do with fighting for positions within UDA. It is the relevance of the individual as they decide where else to go. The state we are in, it is upon us to exploit it or to make advantage of it. One good thing that has happened to us in Mount Kenya is that things are so bad that people have now concluded kube ni kweli hawezi pata kitu dunia ya watu. How can we organize ourselves differently? Given where we are, we must make sure that we don't commit the same mistakes 2027 if we get there. So it is now upon the few of us who can think together with the ordinary Kenyans and say, given what we have gone through, given the mistakes we made 2022, how do we organize ourselves to ensure that we don't do that next time?
How do you organize yourselves, Jeremiah, to know that the person that you select, I mean, sure, you can talk about a CV, you can talk about a track record, but how then do you know that the person that you select, the person who says, well, you know, I can do this for you or with you, will actually deliver on what they have said they will do? I think that would be the bane of the selection process for a lot of Kenyans.
And we in the region have now decided to come together in the form of Remuru 3, not to look for a political leader among ourselves. No. It is to identify the issues that we will need addressed by whoever comes into power, whichever groups comes into power, and those issues will then determine for us who is the best person to manage them. We do not want a person coming and making promises like were made, talking to our Mama Mboga and directed to our Mama Mboga. There's no problem talking to Mama Mboga directly, but making sure that you talk to Mama Mboga to the point that you can make serious promises to people, and because of the desperate nature that they are in, they are easily lied to. We have a people's initiative at Limuru, and the date is on the 17th of May this year, where we are going to have people coming from every county that has some presence of people from out Kenya. And this is not a meeting for us. It is so that we can also be able to know what are these issues that needs to be addressed for the young people. Let them know what are their experiences given the last 2 years, the women, the aged, the persons with various abilities and disabilities. Then we can then be able to say, this is what we would want any person coming to us to address. In our region, we have cried about the one man, one vote, one sharing. You may want to call it a mantra. But if that is addressed in our region, whoever it is that thinks can look at us in the eye and say, yes, the one man, one vote, one sharing makes sense to the whole country, not to our region alone, then we know. And then you put policies on the table that you are going to push through once you have that position. It is a kind of a person, that is a kind of a people that we want to have in office. The other thing that I think is also important is this, which we have also learned as a community. We have seen this even from the Somali community, because you have to learn from others. Somalis will come to Jubilee Party. They are members of Jubilee. In fact, like today, one of the person liking Jubilee or trying to like Jubilee most is, and I have seen him here before, how I wish that you can call him so that we can debate him together, is Adan Kenan.
Okay.
He is from the Somali community.
We've taken that into note, yes.
Now, they are in every party in this country. They have no loyalty. They have only loyalty to their issues. So he is in Jubilee, he is pushing Somali issue. From the point of view of where they sat together as a community and agreed, this is what we want in our region. Sasa weenda pandeyo, weenda pandeyo, kwendeni. We must approach even us in Mount Kenya. So if you then decide to go to whichever other party, remember the one man, one sharing, one vote. Just as one example, remember we are business people. We need the agriculture supported. We need education systems in our place differently. Don't just come and call us Walevi and call us Mogeki. That is what we have gotten from some of these parties. And getting our 82-year-old mothers and they are members of Mogeki. That is only done to a community that has lost respect in the country, that is being seen like they cannot organize themselves to have a single approach, a community that seems to have no regard for the leadership. And it is also important to know this, and this is what we have also we are also bringing to the table, that the kind of leaders we bring from our region will fight themselves in the National Assembly. National Assembly is where all leaders assemble in the nation, and they make decisions that affect the whole country. So if you contribute bad leaders from your region to the assembly, the decisions that are made by that assembly affect the whole country. We are not proud of the leaders that we put into Parliament 2022 as a region. We expected to have the kind of leaders that we had in the name of Paul Mwite, Itofi Manyara, those people who helped shape even the constitution making process in this country. Which leader from Mount Kenya today can you pick out who can help us from that kind of a platform? Is it that we have learned out of those leaders? No. It's because we didn't organize ourselves well. And we allowed somebody to come around and say, we are going to form a government of Mama Boga and Boda. And we all were happy in the region, not knowing that if you don't have good leaders in the National Assembly, and they don't have to come from a given sector. I'm not belittling the Mama Boga and the Boda. They also have quality leaders. But if you do not get to understand them before they are picked by others on your behalf, then you end up with the mess that you are in. How do you explain when I sit in Muranga, I was in a constituency called Kisumu, called by these wazes, the Kiamas and the rest, in their goat eating functions. And I'm seated there as a guest, and a member of parliament starts and says, we were seated at the avocado tree. And I'm saying, ask, you are telling me that I'm going to pay taxes because of this avocado? I have only two in this family. They are the only two trees. These are the only two trees that sustain this family. Education, food, health, ibitibiri. is this what you now want to tax? And the member of parliament starts up and says, I want to say, we have even filed an amendment motion.
This was a live conversation?
Live.
Okay.
I have filed, I have now put an amendment to the law, a lie, because you don't amend Finance Act in that manner. So he lies in the process of parliament. When I'm seated there, and I felt very bad, I didn't want to embarrass him also. But then he says that the only reason we didn't see it, because the Finance Act is a very voluminous thing. It is big as the Bible. It was again repeated by another member from the same area in another forum. So it's something that they have agreed on how to tell Kenyans. That the Finance Act is so big, you cannot read the whole of it. So something passed without. How on earth would I ever forgive you for you allowing taxation on my produce, and I elected you to go and ensure that I'm not taxed unfairly? What was the law? And then I still heard them saying that mbunge ako na kazi mingi, hawezi ona sheria. Kazi gine gani? Ya kwenda kuibaiba ama kwenda kurabaraba watu huko State House. You know, it's so stupid of the kind of leadership, the kind of statements that they are saying are so embarrassing to us that we cannot allow this to continue. So when we are at Lemuru on the 17th of May this year, these are some of the things that we need to address ourselves to. How is it that we even lost an agenda for our region? How is it that we can survive with 35 political parties and they have no known position about the region? So we want these political parties to agree to work together on a given agenda. When you go to your own political party, this is now the agenda for our region. If you don't sign to that agenda, then we will ensure that you also have no business fielding candidates in that region. And I want to tell you, we are not interested in saying Kioni is running for presidency or Mother. No. Those who are saying that are fellas who have already roasted. It has nothing to do with coronation of readers.
So we're talking about an agenda here that is actually going to talk about
from
political and economic development of what could come from regional to then nationwide, and say that these are the issues that actually must be discussed and be dealt with in the person of leadership at some point, at whatever level.
The intention is to create a forum where those who are already available can benefit the region. Let me just mention a name. You want to tell me that somebody like the CEO of Equity Bank has nothing he can offer to the region in terms of management or something? He doesn't need to become a political leader, but he has something he can tell you that when you have policies of this nature, the economy of a region will grow. You have people like Rainas Gitahi, who has been in this industry. He's running his own industries in tropical, whatever. So we have industrialists from our region who can actually guide us on the kind of policies that you should never, ever again allow, kind of taxation measures that you should never allow to come into place. Otherwise, you have no good intentions for your people. I was talking to one of the directors of Kenya Farmers, what is it called? The Farmers' Choice. And was saying the region through pig farming contributes about 3 billion shillings to the national kitty. Through pig farming, 3 billion shillings. Now, they have brought this e-teams thing, that they want every farmer be taking a pig to their factory to be charged another tax. Remember already, through Farmers' Choice, our region is taking 3 billion shillings. And you now have introduced another taxation at the gate, which you now want to tax the farmer again. And he's saying, this is killing pig farming within Mount Kenya region. And it is true, because the farmer is saying, if you're already taxing me, you are buying maybe 60 shillings per pig, and because of the taxation that you eventually are going to pay to the government. And then the government again want to come and tax my 60,000, then afadhali niachane na hii maneno ya ukulima. These are some of the things, silent issues that are hitting us so hard. I do dairy farming. And one of the things I'm told, Mimi, Kioni, ni kwamba I cannot do my own silage because I'm already doing, I have a formula of ensuring that I have quality silage that will give me better. I am told I cannot do that. I have to go and buy from a licensed agrovet. People in the industry will be able to tell you, you go through that route, it is a death of your people. And that is why we want this Limuru meeting. And it is a people's initiative. It is not by being called by the so and so in our community. Ni watu wenyewe na ni watu wajitolee. Hakuna mtu anakuja kuwalipa ati ufanye nini. Watu wajitolee, tukutane kule, tuelewane mwelekeo wetu wa kibiashara ni upi. Hizi sera ambazo tumewekewa kwa meza na hawa ambao wako kwa serikali, tutaishi dunia hii miaka 3 ama ni kusema la kama wanadaktari. Sisi kama wanasiasa tunaweza kuaji na vyama 30 kutoka eneo moja. Kwa nini tusikubali hizi vyama siwe zinafanya kazi moja? How can we be able to make it possible for the parties to work together? So that even as we engage the others who want presidency or the leadership of this country, we are engaging them on a platform. How do you ensure that the 9 million vote block is available for anybody who wants it, but on condition that we are also on that table? Because how do you keep us out when you have a 9 million voting block?
Something that has always puzzled me, what is it that the Jubilee government did or didn't do in the mountain region that laid the ground for those who are now in power to actually be as convincing as they were?
We allowed the freedom of speech in an unfettered manner. And you don't have to check it by doing anything unconstitutional. It's by educating your people. We overestimated the ability of our people to sift through issues. And we allowed people to come and talk to all of them, and tulikuwa tunasema wacha waende waseme watu kutoka eneo hilo si wajinga watayawaelewa. There was a lot of lying and propaganda that we allowed to go to the ground without it being countered.
What prevented the leadership then from countering it?
It was that position of saying, watu wetu hii mambo wanaelewa. I want to confess here. I thought my voter, his intelligence level was to the level where he could tell some of these promises can never be done in this country. So we also had lost touch with our people. And it is important that we regain it. It is important that we gain the confidence of each other.
Was there realization that that touch was lost? Or did the realization come after a number of the folks who were in positions of leadership did not come back?
No,
did that realization come at that juncture? Or when did the realization that the loss of touch actually occurred happen?
Every time you do an election, you also go through yourselves and see what did you do wrong and how can you improve it. That is something that we all agreed we went wrong after we did our election. I also say we also put a lot of premium on our religious people. I talked about my grandfather.
Yes.
He was among the very first people in that region to embrace Christianity and education. And through it, a lot of good changes have come about. Little did we know that it is also through the same route that the damage that we are now going through was going to come through. So there are people who have mastered us and used the same channels that we have used to do well up to where we are, and they use them to ensure that we are now looking like the beggars we are today as a community. And and we must be clear to one another. Then, of course, there are those of us who get into position, and all we do is enrich ourselves. You go to power for purposes of personal greed, and you fail to understand it is a privilege to serve others. That is another mistake that has happened big time. Even today, there are people who are telling us, kutakuwa kuzuri, and I'm sure you are not part of them when you are telling me to look at the good things that are being done. The good things that are being done are people now who are saying, nitafanya biashara na hii serikali mpaka wakati wa uchaguzi. And we have a number of those people from our region now. And they are the ones trying to tell you, itakuwa kuzuri, angalia petroli imeenda chini. Why? Because they are in business. But I am telling you the direction the region is going, we will be doing very, very poorly. If we don't organize ourselves now, we will never be around by the people in power or others to ever organize ourselves in a manner that we can make sense in this country. That realization is there. And that is why they picked on individuals and started. There are people who are in power on account of insulting others from our region. I want to, and I can, again, I'm ready for a debate with Moses Kuria. And I want to commend him for having gone to Raila and giving a goat to say sorry. I don't know. I hope the goat is not anything near from Northlands, because some of the goats have still not been recovered.
Oh, SG, seriously?
Yes, I'm very...
okay.
I want him, because I also know that where did the meeting take place? The meeting that organized for the lading of Northlands. We know. We have confessions of people who sat in those meetings. The same people who are now ready to say sorry, apologize, were the people who are organizing for those leads. Another issue that we want to address at the Muru 3.
Those are the things that you're talking about.
I wanted to say this. There are some of those leaders who are in power only on account of their ability to insult others. Insulting others has become a mark of quality, or a gate to power. When you take those kind of persons to parliament and you expect them to contribute to the national debate, then the whole country becomes consumers of the product from the same people. And it is not just our region, it's the regions across this country. I am not saying this for any whatever, but look at the kind of quality of leaders we get from Nyanza. I mean, I was in that parliament with Miri Othiambo, Otiende Omoro, Wadai, Nyikal. Every time they start to speak, you listen. Because even if it is any propaganda that they would want to push, they push it with some intelligence. And I'm not saying they push propaganda.
Well,
remember Kibaki saying.
1 + 1 = 2.
Remember Kibaki saying, even lying, even cheating requires intelligence. Anything you do requires some intelligence. So you want to tell us that we don't have? When you look at people passing at Glade, when we were doing this Standard 8 thing, Form 4, we are always having schools from Mount Kenya at the top. But we also don't want people to keep telling us, like Ichungwa, I am a product of Alliance, but we are not seeing what you learned from Alliance. And I'm not talking about Ichungwa, but it is not just a question of going. It's not just a question of going to a good school. It's a question of coming out with something from that good school and us seeing that it is benefiting people. So we really need to address ourselves to these issues, and it is only possible if we as a community have that self-retrospect.
But
and agree that we made mistakes, and one of the mistakes is that we let it too loose. 2022.
Take this view. Consider this view. When you say you believed in your people and you believe they would make the right decision, isn't there an element of then taking the voter for granted, assuming that the thinking is good, faith in the voter, but then how did it resonate? Because it honestly puzzles me, because how does the ground get laid? How is it prepared to the point where indeed your thinking was not out of thin air? No. If there's one area where the turnover of leaders is high, it's always the mountain. And people tell you, okay, we've seen what you're doing and we know you're not helping us, you're going out. Now, the thinking and your understanding, there's evidence to it. But for there to be such a dramatic change, it's like people needed to get back at people for some reason. Is it that they felt they were taken for granted? Is it that they felt that their interest was not being looked after? What is it? Why am I saying this? Because even if you have Limuru 3, and that gap is not properly addressed, there is no guarantee that come 2027 there will be any real meaningful change.
And this is why we want to be guided by the issues. And I want to agree with you completely, because what happens is that you have the state of people, their needs are this much. For you to be able to satisfy that need, you need to do this much.
Right.
For you to
over and above, yes.
For you to do this much, you require X amount of time. So you need economic growth for a given time of given number of years for you to be able to satisfy the needs of people. So what happened? You have a population that is in need of so much, and you need this amount of time, and you are being realistic. For example, you say, let us have cash kwa vijana so that people can have some money in your pocket as we grow the industries, or as we grow, we allow companies, the Rivertex and the rest, to grow their capacity to employ.
Yeah.
But somebody comes and says, no. You are in this situation because Serikali is a dynasty. Serikali. We now are going to have a Serikali of Mama Mboga na Boda Boda. You are the ones who are going to be in government. Your fortunes will change tomorrow. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. And people said, hii wajinga wetu wanatuambia tukae miaka 10 hapa, na huyu amekuja kutuweka kwa serikali, kesho tuwe tajiri, kwa nini tuachane? So they abandoned the wisdom of growing an economy which is sustainable, and fell to the lies of promises that you are going to be part of this government and your fortunes will change tomorrow. Today, Mama Mboga at Mairoine, a place called Mairoine is my constituency, is required to pay 200 shillings up from 20 shillings. 200 shillings up from 20 shillings.
To sell her.
The border fella was paying 150 shillings. He is required to pay 900 shillings. They are all in court. And for that reason, the payments have been suspended. They will eventually be made to pay. So they were fooled into a thing that cannot work. But we also want to own up and say, there is a gap that we allowed to develop between those who could understand where we were going and how we were going there, and those who needed to be made to go with us along the journey. We hope some of these gaps, can be bridged by regular engagement. Lemuru 3 is not us talking to them. It's also for them now to come and say, unlike before, because this is the silver in this lining, unlike before, we were lied to, and we can now tell lies between lies and what you are telling us.
Indeed. Look, I'm all
You remember, like, for example, as I allow you to, I was talking about the BBI. BBI, in the BBI thing, there was an extra 54 billion shillings that was supposed to come to the region. And it was not being taken from any other person. No. It is money that was going to be allowed into the region so that people can grow their own economic activities. That money is gone now. It's not there. So you are right. That kind of, we need to do better so that people can understand that all these things were meant for them. When you talk about Edu Afia,
there's a lot. But
for God's sake, Edu Afia, I can't believe that you can remove the insurance of a child in secondary school.
And this is why I'm saying
that, for whatever lack of a quicker example, go and use the money to renovate State House.
The encouraging thing here is that there are folks who are thinking about how things may be going and then want to be involved in a solution. I think before we've had a lot of throwing of words without action, and that to see that people will be coming together to discuss, I think it's interesting, and I'll be very interested to see how this will go into the future. Thank you for always being here, Secretary
And
General.
I want to say this it is everybody is invited.
Come in.
You may not see the letter coming to you, but don't sit out there and say that you have not been invited by Kioni. I'm not inviting you. The mood is open for you. Come if you think you have something to offer.
Jeremiah Kioni, Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, has been our guest this hour. We've gone over about a minute. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
We'll talk again in the near future. Asante Sana, folks. Thank you very much for keeping it the Situation Room this morning. We'll meet again tomorrow. It's 10:01.
By the Ministry of Interior and National Administration will involve the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, Ministry of Health and county governments. Speaking at the Kenya School of Government during a high-level multi-agency security workshop ahead of the exercise that begins immediately, Internal Security Principal Secretary Raimundo